Vol 2, Chapter 365, Response. Tang Xiao crossed his arms over his chest, his expression darkening. Darth Tenebris. He didn't target Count Dooku, but instead, he's come after me? It appears that even though Count Dooku's Confederation of Independent Systems remains the second largest force in the galaxy, Tenebris clearly doesn't regard him as a significant threat, Helmut Zemo observed. And it doesn't seem like he's aiming for a quick confrontation between us. Tang Xiao, giving nothing away, approached the holographic star map and pondered for a moment before speaking. He's also handed me and Darth Sidious an opportunity by sending the Fourth and Second Armies our way. It's just that seizing this opportunity would come at a great cost. Moreover, he's drawing more Jedi Knights away from the Jedi Temple and into the war, which could potentially aid Darth Sidious's plans. Whatever his intentions for the Jedi might be, having more of them on the battlefield is advantageous. So, he's also scheming against the Jedi Knights? Ling Liang asked, struggling to grasp the full picture. Why do you think neither Count Dooku nor I normally take to the front lines, although we could easily turn the tide of a battle ourselves? Tang Xiao's eyes grew cold as he continued. Because we dare not. The room fell silent, no one daring to respond. Should Count Dooku or I openly appear on the battlefield, the Jedi Order could easily mobilize hundreds of Jedi Masters to strike at us. With leaders like Windu and Yoda, we would stand no chance. So, despite the progress we've made in the war and the number of Jedi Knights we've eliminated, the Jedi Order remains the most formidable force user organization in the galaxy, overwhelmingly so. So, even without knowledge of Darth Sidious's plans, he's creating conditions that could benefit Sidious? Ling Liang pondered, frowning. Qi Jian, unable to remain calm, exclaimed, If he can manipulate the entire galaxy with just a few moves, then this person is terrifying. We don't know when we might fall into his trap. We must find a way to eliminate him. Heh. You're overthinking it, Helmut Zemo sneered. Darth Tenebris's plan has indeed deceived many, but he merely seized the opportunity. I never thought seizing the opportunity could be seen as a negative, Qi Jian retorted, visibly upset. Ling Liang clarified, seizing the opportunity means he can only act when conditions favor him. Without the right momentum, he's powerless. He's waited a long time for this chance. After extensive planning, he's achieved these strategic goals, but such a plan isn't sustainable without the strength to capitalize on the outcomes. In the end, the fleets of the Galactic Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems will have the final say, Zemo added. Tang Xiao stroked his chin, contemplating. Although Darth Tenebris has been dead for several years and unaware of the Milky Way's current trajectory, he was Darth Plagueis's master. The grand scheme to overthrow the Galactic Republic originated from him. Even though his plan was in its early stages at his death, his intellect was undoubtedly capable of deducing some future developments. It seems he predicted the Galactic Republic's downfall. Naturally, allowing a Sith Lord to become the Supreme Chancellor spells doom for the Republic. Thus, his plans are predicated on the collapse of the Galactic Republic. Only then can he truly wield power and enter the fray to vie for control of the galaxy, Ling Liang added. Darth Tenebris is a significant threat. He must be eliminated. Tang Xiao declared, his gaze icy and determined. Tang Xiao's expression darkened, his features twisting into a visage of pure fury. The one who killed him, I'll deal with personally, he declared. My lord, the enemy lurks in the shadows while we stand in the light. It would be perilous for you to act on your own, Helmut Zemo cautioned. Darth Tenebris probably hopes I would take him on myself, sparing him the trouble of facing my vast arm. Why, my countless warships and spaceships, Tang Xiao retorted icily. I have my methods for dealing with him. With a dismissive wave of his hand, he continued, What I need now is a strategic plan to counter the Galactic Republic and Darth Tenebris's next moves. Mandalore and the Alliance of Neutrals are now beyond our influence. What has transpired there is irreversible. However, we cannot afford to lose the Yagodor and Iliadu galaxies. This includes ensuring the safety of the Interstellar Banking Association and the Fourth Group in the north. We must not allow Darth Tenebris to outmaneuver us again. Yes, sir. Ling Liang immediately snapped to attention, saluting crisply. Yes, sir, echoed the others present, mirroring Ling Liang's salute. After the meeting, Tang Xiao made his way alone down a hidden elevator behind his office, descending into his secret chamber. Here, the body of Darth Tenebris was preserved in a Bacta tank. Despite his earlier claims of dismembering the body to feed it to dogs, Darth Malthael had chosen not to. With a sinister chuckle, Darth Malthael mused, "Master, to think you dared to scheme against me. Did you really believe you could hide from me forever?" Ha ha ha! He paced around the Bacta tank, a malevolent grin spreading across his face. Sending out an assassin would be too mundane, but having your own body hunt you down, now that's truly intriguing, isn't it? The air around Darth Malthael was charged with malevolence, a stark contrast to his earlier demeanor. He took out a communicator and instructed, "Arrange for a spaceship to transport this decaying corpse to Abora Island on the planet Mullenster. Inform the Moon people that a quarantine zone of at least 200 kilometers is to be established around Ebola Island for the next month. No one is to come near." "Understood, my lord," came the prompt reply. As the arrangements were set in motion, Darth Malthael continued to circle the Bacta tank, his thoughts darkening. "But a body alone is insufficient. I need a soul thirsting for vengeance." A wicked smile twisted his lips. "Ah, I recall now. My master, Darth Plagueis, had prepared just the thing for me. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website. Vol 2, Chapter 1366, Vengeful Soul." One day later, on the planet Mullenster, Abora Island became the focal point of a dark legacy. Darth Plagueis, a name synonymous with the dark side's most profound mysteries, left behind a legacy that was invaluable, and at the heart of this legacy was Abora Island. This secluded island housed Plagueis's most secretive laboratory and dark altar, preserving the lifetime of knowledge amassed by this sage of the dark side. It was here that Darth Plagueis dared to breach the forbidden realms of life, attempting to create the Chosen One himself. His explorations into the enigma of immortality, his studies on the nature of the Force, and his theories on the trinity of the Force, encompassing infinity, soul, and spirit, all took place on this very island. Upon inheriting his master's legacy, Darth Malthael continued the tradition, conducting his own dark side studies and rituals on Abora Island. After 2 generations of Sith Lords, this island had become one of the most malevolent places in the galaxy, rivaled only by Darth Sidious's enigmatic Dark Altar. With his current power, Darth Malthael found himself unshackled by the limitations of the Fourth Civilization, capable of traversing the galaxy at will. However, he could never sever his ties with Abora Island, for it was here that the roots of his quest for eternal life, his mastery of the Force, and his understanding of the dark side and the Sith way lay deeply entrenched. Following Darth Malthael's directives, the Moons had established a warning zone extending over 300 kilometers around Abora Island. Ever since the split of the Interstellar Banking Association, the Moon people had aligned themselves with Darth Malthael, proving to be invaluable allies. The spaceship descended gently onto Abora Island, and Darth Malthael disembarked. A handling robot, following closely, transported a black medical pod, Droppa's stasis chamber, into the laboratory. Darth Malthael then proceeded to connect numerous data cables to a central platform in the laboratory and attached a canister filled with a Force medium extracted from Force-sensitive individuals to the platform. These cables were then linked to Droppa's stasis chamber. After completing the setup, Darth Malthael positioned himself on the platform and activated the device using the Force. As the machine whirred to life, the canister of Force medium began to deplete, and a beam of light connected the stasis chamber to Darth Malthael's head. His expression twisted into one of pain and grotesqueness, yet his body remained eerily still, devoid of any instinctual reactions. Moments later, the stasis chamber opened, releasing a dense white mist, from which a pale, emaciated figure sat up, Darth Malthael in his true form. Upon opening his eyes, a palpable force of death radiated from him, creating an invisible shockwave in the surrounding area. His mastery over the force of death was so potent that he could animate or extinguish life with a mere thought. Darth Malthael rose, draped a black cloak of exquisite material over his shoulders, and prepared to embrace his renewed existence. However, a series of groans interrupted the silence. The body he had previously inhabited, now a lifeless husk, had succumbed to the overwhelming power of death and transformed into a zombie. Without a backward glance, Darth Malthael seized the head of his former clone, identical in appearance to himself, and pushed it back onto the platform. As he exited the laboratory, he commanded a cleaning robot, "Clean up here." Behind him, the body of the zombie withered rapidly, a testament to the dark legacy that thrived on Abora Island. The once robust and resilient object gradually became dry and brittle, eventually disintegrating into a mere pile of dust under the terrifying force of death. A cleaning robot, performing its duties with unwavering diligence, promptly vacuumed the remnants, meticulously cleaned the area, and applied a fresh layer of wax to the platform, restoring its pristine condition. Meanwhile, Darth Malthael Vent ured to a seemingly inconsequential crater on Ebola Island. To the untrained eye or the most sophisticated detectors, the crater appeared to be a mere 5 meters deep. However, a leap into its depths revealed a staggering drop of 70 meters, a deceptively simple trap that spelled doom for the majority of unwary intruders. At the bottom of this shadowy abyss lay the altars of the Sith Lords Darth Plagueis and Darth Malthael. Since Darth Malthael assumed control, the sanctum had undergone numerous transformations, with changes in furnishings and layouts to accommodate his research. Yet, two elements remained unchanged. The area was still home to Darth Plagueis's manuscripts, now accompanied by bookshelves filled with Darth Malthael's own research findings, and the dark altar adorned with a perpetually fresh skull and blood. Adjacent to the altar stood a Bacta jar, housing the body of Darth Tenebris. Initially sent to Ebola Island, the jar was personally transported to this location by Darth Malthael's robot. With the power supply severed and the Bacta fluid no longer fresh, the contents of the jar had turned murky, obscuring the Bisman's body within. Opening the jar at this moment would undoubtedly release a pungent odor of decay. A sneer curled the corners of Darth Malthael's lips as he stood before the altar. A chilling gust of dark wind assaulted him, accompanied by the eerie howls of ghosts and wolves, their cries filled with anguish, curses, and screams. These tormented souls were bound to this place by the dark magic of Darth Plagueis, condemned to suffer eternally. "Darth Venomous, it's been a long time, Master," Darth Malthael sneered. Indeed, Darth Venomous was another secret apprentice of Darth Tenebris, who later sought vengeance for his master, but was effortlessly defeated by Darth Plagueis. Subsequently, Darth Plagueis used Venomous's body for an immortality experiment, subjecting him to a cycle of death and resurrection that lasted 20 years. When Darth Malthael faced the final trial set by Darth Plagueis, he was cast onto the altar to endure the wrath of Darth Venomous and undergo a harrowing baptism. Ultimately, Darth Malthael emerged victorious. Volume 2, Chapter 1367, Darth Venomous. In a pivotal moment of his dark journey, Darth Plagueis cast Tang Xiao onto an altar, subjecting him to the corrosive and torturous influence of Darth Venomous's ghost. Remarkably, Tang Xiao not only withstood the onslaught, but also managed to absorb the essence of Venomous's ghost. It was during this intense encounter that Darth Massa Yin emerged. However, the spirit of Darth Venomous was not entirely vanquished. Darth Plagueis had imprisoned it within the altar, where it was subjected to a cycle of death and resurrection for 2 decades. This altar served dual purposes. It was both a prison and a sanctuary for Venomous's lingering soul. Protected by the altar, the remnants of Darth Venomous persisted, albeit stripped of all dark side force by Darth Massa Yin. Darth Venomous's tale is one of the most tragic within the Star Wars universe. His potential in the Force was undeniable, having caught the eye of Darth Tenebris, who took him as a secret apprentice. Yet, Venomous's ambition led to his downfall. Despite Darth Tenebris's demise, Venomous sought revenge against Darth Plagueis without fully understanding the magnitude of his adversary's power. This miscalculation provided Darth Plagueis with a valuable subject for his dark experiments. Darth Plagueis harbored no personal animosity towards Venomous. To him, Venomous was merely a resource to be exploited. The ensuing years of experimentation inflicted unimaginable suffering upon Venomous, driving him to the brink of madness. Consumed by hatred and pain, Venomous became a tormented soul, longing for the destruction of all existence. After being drained of his dark side force by Darth Massa Yin, Venomous was reduced to a vengeful spirit. Darth Massa Yin, having inherited Darth Plagueis's legacy, saw no further use for such a broken tool. However, he chose not to release Venomous's spirit, recognizing the potential utility of a soul fueled by vengeance. In a calculated move, Darth Masa Yin effortlessly bisected a bacta canister with a mere gesture, releasing its corrupted contents without allowing a single drop to touch him. The contents were neatly directed into a drainage channel. Amidst this, the body of Darth Tenebris, which had been preserved for over 30 years through the application of fresh bacta liquid, was unceremoniously dropped to the ground. Despite the extensive decay, the dark side force emanating from Tenebris's corpse remained potent, a testament to his enduring power. Darth Masa Yin's actions underscored his mastery over the dark side and his strategic foresight. By harnessing the vengeful spirit of Darth Venomous, he positioned himself as a formidable force within the galaxy, ready to exploit the dark legacy left behind by his predecessors. Imbued with the dark side's force for an extended period, his body had undergone a transformation, becoming one with the dark side's power. Now, unrestrained by his soul, the formidable dark side force was unleashed without inhibition. It seemed as though the dark side force itself was in sync with this moment, and the specter of Darth Venomous emitted a series of silent roars. Darth Messiah's face twisted into a malevolent grin. Yes, can you feel it too? The force, the potent force of the dark side. This is your deepest desire. A visage formed from black smoke materialized above the altar. It bared its fangs, eager to pounce, yet it was held back by an unseen force emanating from the skull placed upon the altar, preventing it from straying too far. Approaching the skull, Darth Messiah placed his hand upon it, and a surge of death's powerful force burst forth. His newfound power effortlessly overcame the residual energy within Tenebris's remains. In the shadowy depths of this underground altar, a terrifying force of death pervaded the air. The ghost of Darth Venomous, stricken with fear, instinctively sought escape, but found itself bound to its own skull, unable to flee. It was subjected to the relentless onslaught of Darth Messiah's death force. The formidable energy continuously eroded the weakened, resentful spirit. Darth Messiah sneered. Remember the agony you've endured. Remember the torment you're experiencing now. It was Darth Tenebris, the original owner of this body, who inflicted this upon you. Your suffering will persist eternally. Unless you find him, slay him, bring his soul here. Let him endure the anguish you've suffered. The resentful soul of Venomous emitted silent screams, but from within, a burgeoning hatred began to surge, a rage that intensified with each passing moment. Finally, under Darth Messiah's guidance, the dark side's force once again erupted within Venomous's wraith. The force, omnipresent in the universe, naturally encompasses resentful souls. Empowered by the force, Darth Venomous's wraith was once again able to influence reality, lunging at Messiah with ferocity. However, it was instantly subdued by the death force in the next moment. Seeking a body? Yearning for the sensation of fresh air? Wishing to feel the solidity of the ground beneath you? Darth Messiah approached the struggling black wraith, raised his finger, and gently touched its forehead. The touch, light as a feather, had a profound impact. The resentful soul, previously intangible, was propelled backward as if struck by a formidable blow, nearly dissipating entirely. When it reformed, a small, blood-red mark adorned its forehead. Then, Darth Messiah casually tossed the skull beside Tenebris's corpse, declaring coldly, "Go, this shall be your temporary vessel." The resentful soul of Venomous, roaring with fury, plunged into Tenebris's body. Immediately, the corpse began to convulse violently. For those following the web version, updates may be slow. To enjoy the latest content, please download the Haoye Novel app. To ensure you have access to the fastest updates of Star Wars: The Fourth Scourge, Chapter 1367, Darth Venomous, available for free reading, please exit the transcoding page and download the Haoye Novels app. Vol 2, Chapter 1368, Each Other's Backhand. After Darth Venomous's wraith submerged into the corpse of Darth Tenebris, the body convulsed violently, resembling a frenzied goat. It twitched erratically before suddenly halting, lying motionless as if it were a lifeless fish. Darth Malthael, intrigued, stepped forward to investigate. However, as he leaned in, the corpse let out a ferocious roar and lunged at him with astonishing speed. Yet Darth Malthael didn't flinch. The corpse's withered claws were halted mid-strike, frozen in place despite its furious roars. Impressive, Darth Malthael sneered. You've just been resurrected, and already you're attempting a sneak attack. You're quite the cunning beast. He continued, his voice dripping with disdain. But let's not forget, I resurrected you. You were created by me. My soul's imprint is within you. Did you really think you could harm me? The corpse's roars were filled with palpable anger and hatred. The dark side of the Force began to gather around it, forming a dense, black mist that eventually enveloped the entirety of Ebola Island. Despite this, Darth Malthael remained unshaken. He watched the struggling corpse with a mocking smile. No matter how cunning a beast is, it remains just that, a beast. It's impossible for it to overcome its master. Let this be your first lesson, Darth Tenebris. With those words, a terrifying force of death erupted, sending the corpse flying. Darth Malthael then extended his hand, summoning countless black lightning bolts that filled the space around them. These bolts, like venomous black serpents, struck the corpse from every direction. The black lightning, imbued with the force of death, caused the corpse's flesh to wither instantly upon contact, despite the protection of the dark side's power. The relentless assault of black lightning caused the corpse to scream in agony as its body continuously withered and regenerated. Finally, Darth Malthael pointed a finger, upon which a blood-red lightning bolt condensed. This tiny bolt of lightning, though small, contained power far surpassing the black lightning. Approaching the corpse, Darth Malthael tapped the blood-red lightning onto its chest. The corpse was immediately engulfed, its every cell washed with terrifying energy. I knew your body still had some resilience, Darth Malthael remarked coldly. But remember, you taught me everything you knew. What you know, I know. What you can do, I can do as well. The body collapsed, almost every inch covered in charred black smoke, yet it still twitched slightly. Rediscover what it means to be truly cunning, Darth Venomous. Only then will you possess the ability to hunt effectively, Darth Malthael said, turning to leave. You have 1 month. If I grow bored of this new toy, then your worth will be unquestionable, and your end assured. In another room, Darth Tenebris, now free from his crude body, wiped blood from his mouth with a handkerchief. His gaze fell upon a 10-year-old boy torturing a scar-covered prisoner with a ferocity that belied his young age. The boy wielded a thorny whip and a dagger with cruel precision, a chilling sight. You finally destroyed my body, Darth Malthael, Darth Tenebris said, his eyes turning cold. But it matters not. That body had reached its limit. If it's destroyed, so be it. Indeed, Darth Plagueis's body was once my ideal vessel, but his foolishness led him to end me prematurely, he chuckled, managing to suppress the damage inflicted by the crude body's resonance with the limited force he could muster. Perhaps you haven't realized, but in this galaxy, aside from the Chosen One, your body is the most precious. His laughter echoed ominously. At that moment, the boy's patience had evaporated. In a swift motion, he plunged his knife into the prisoner's heart. The young man stormed out, his face twisted in rage. That fool! Even in the face of death, he remained defiant. Master, I've dealt with him. Darth Tenebris regarded him with a cold gaze. I don't recall teaching you mercy, Tiberzan. With a sinister smile, Tiberzan boasted, I made sure his master suffered before he died. Yet, by killing him, you ended his suffering. You showed mercy, Tiberzan, and in doing so, you've disappointed me. Darth Tenebris stood, his voice icy. I presented you with 20 individuals, each harboring a secret. Your task was to unearth these secrets, and yet you've squandered 18 opportunities. Where does that leave us? There are still 2 left. I'll make them talk. Tiberzan retorted darkly. Leaving no room for error has not served you well. The secrets that eluded you with 18 will not be uncovered by merely 2, Darth Tenebris remarked with a hint of mockery. Remember our agreement. If you fail, I will depart. Your future endeavors will be of no concern to me. I operate differently, Master. I leave no stone unturned, Tiberzan declared, his expression twisted. We should be safe now, Satine, Obi-Wan Kenobi announced, bringing the hovercar to a halt. He turned to Grand Duke Satine, who was visibly distressed in the back seat. How dare you abduct me? My lord will have your head for this. You're a dead man. Satine Kryze yelled, her voice filled with fury. Obi-Wan, however, remained unfazed by her outburst. He simply grabbed his binoculars and surveyed the vast white desert stretching out before them. With a determined tone, he assured, "I will help you recover, I swear it." Vol 2, Chapter 369, Collapsed Finances. As April of 20 BBY dawned, the war, now in its third year, showed the Federation of Independent Galaxies on the brink of defeat, retreating on almost every front. The once formidable Confederacy of Independent Galaxies was losing its grip on the Central Star region, with only a few developed planets still holding out against the onslaught. In a pivotal battle between the Rendili and Semir's galaxies, a significant number of Republic fleets were initially trapped and decimated. However, in a bold move, Speaker Schiff Palpatine commandeered the local defense fleets of all planets, bolstering the Republic's forces with an additional, albeit less sophisticated, fleet. This strategic reinforcement led to the fall of the planets Mingban and Rusan, pushing the flames of war closer to General Grievous's defensive line on Salakami. On countless planets, the ground battles raged with unprecedented cruelty. The Confederacy's robot legions, left to fend off the Republican army, faced a new challenge with the emergence of genetic weapons, forcing the Republic to recall all clone troops. Consequently, the Republic resorted to precise bombings by a multitude of small and medium warships, sparing the planet's environments but devastating their surface facilities. The aftermath of these battles left the industrial and civilian infrastructures of the captured planets in ruins, further alienating them from the Galactic Republic. Despite being liberated from the Separatists' tyranny, the resentment towards the Republic grew, matching, if not exceeding, the disdain for the Federation of Independent Galaxies. The Confederacy, despite its reorganization, continued its exploitative practices to sustain the war effort, draining the planets under its control of nearly all their resources. The Galactic Republic's aggressive tactics not only exacerbated the chaos within the Milky Way, but also highlighted the grim reality of warfare, with over 60 million natural soldiers killed and more than 100 million wounded in just 1 month. The financial strain of compensating the families of these soldiers further plunged the Republic's finances into disarray. Faced with a dire financial crisis, the Interplanetary Banking Association, now led by Rush Clovis from the planet Scipio, found itself on the brink of bankruptcy. In a desperate measure, Clovis authorized the issuance of 50 trillion credits in Republic coins, a new currency backed solely by the Galactic Republic's credit. Unlike previous standards based on tangible assets, this credit currency lacked any physical guarantee, its value hinging entirely on the Republic's credibility and trustworthiness. This move into uncharted financial territory underscored the dire straits the Galactic Republic found itself in, as it grappled with not only the physical toll of the war, but the looming specter of economic collapse. In the waning days of the Galactic Republic, despair was a common sentiment among its citizens. The once great Republic was crumbling, leaving its people grappling with the loss of loved ones and the devaluation of their currency. Many found themselves holding worthless banknotes that were refused by numerous establishments. Out of desperation, protests and armed riots erupted across various planets, challenging the administrative centers of the Republic. This period of turmoil was not exclusive to the Republic. The Confederacy of Independent Systems experienced its own share of unrest. Count Dooku, having severed ties with Darth Sidious, was at the helm of the Confederacy. His departure from Sidious marked a significant shift in his priorities. Previously, Dooku had been content to play a supporting role, aiding Sidious with the broader plan. However, with the break, Dooku's focus shifted towards securing a victory in the war. He embarked on ambitious projects to bolster the Confederacy's economy, including the establishment of a national bank and the nationalization of several industrial planets. Despite these efforts, challenges loomed large, particularly from the remaining corporate giants and the Techno-Union, which contemplated a return to the Galactic Republic. Amidst these economic and political tensions, General Grievous deployed the Confederacy's main fleet, consisting of older warships, to the Battle of Daron. This move was part of a broader strategy to weaken the corporate giants, while the Confederacy worked on building a new generation of more advanced, albeit more expensive navy. The financial burden of these new warships fell on the member planets of the Confederacy, leading to widespread exploitation and unrest within its territories. In contrast, the Fourth Civilization, a remote entity with a weak industrial base and sparse population, initially seemed to fare better. However, the situation changed dramatically with the successful rebellion of the Lundili Interstellar Power Company. The Fourth Civilization's population surged by 600 billion, accompanied by a significant increase in industrial facilities. Daphne Clement, the Minister of the Interior, soon realized that his civilization had become a bottomless pit, consuming vast amounts of resources, money, and job opportunities. The sudden influx of population and factories placed an immense strain on the Fourth Civilization's resource system, threatening to collapse its economy. Despite these challenges, the Fourth Civilization's advanced technology, exemplified by the Titan battleship Xuanwu, provided a crucial advantage. This technological superiority allowed them to defend their territory without the need for a large fleet, deterring the Galactic Republic from any aggressive actions. The situation underscored the complex interplay of economic, political, and military dynamics, shaping the fate of these civilizations amidst the galactic turmoil. In an ambitious move to seize control of the Eriadu galaxy, a critical transportation hub, even a fleet triple its size would struggle. As the year 20 BBY unfolded, the toll of the ongoing war became increasingly evident. The relentless conflict had begun to overwhelm both factions involved. In a desperate bid to mitigate internal strife and stave off their own impending collapse, the Galactic Republic, the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and the enigmatic Fourth Civilization each independently decided on a similar strategy to escalate the conflict. This period marked a turning point in the galaxy's history. The Eriadu galaxy, known for its strategic importance as a nexus of trade and travel, had become the focal point of a fierce battle for supremacy. The decision to target such a vital area was not made lightly, but out of a dire necessity perceived by all parties involved. They believed that by intensifying the war efforts, they could potentially divert attention from their internal issues and unite their respective factions against a common enemy. However, this strategy was fraught with risk. The Eriadu galaxy was heavily fortified, and its capture would require a significant commitment of resources and manpower. Each faction, already stretched thin by the prolonged conflict, had to weigh the potential gains against the possibility of further depleting their already dwindling resources. As the war escalated, the consequences of this relentless conflict became more pronounced. Supply lines were stretched to their limits, economies were strained, and populations grew weary of the constant state of warfare. The once distant rumblings of dissent began to grow louder, threatening to fracture the fragile unity that had been maintained through years of conflict. In this tumultuous time, the leaders of the Galactic Republic, the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and the Fourth Civilization each faced a critical decision. Would they continue down the path of escalation, risking everything in the hope of a decisive victory? Or would they seek an alternative solution, one that could potentially bring an end to the war and restore peace to the galaxy? The fate of the Eriadu galaxy, and indeed the entire galaxy, hung in the balance as these fall. Caetians navigated the treacherous waters of war and diplomacy. The decisions made during this critical period would shape the course of galactic history for generations to come. Vol 2, Chapter 1370, Tarkin's Fist. 2 months prior, within the Supreme Strategic Command of the Galactic Republic, a significant combat report was laid upon the table of the Central Command Center. This report outlined a colossal combat organization plan encompassing 31 galaxies, 9 industrial planets, 17 agricultural planets, and 42 interstellar mines. It detailed a massive logistical operation involving more than 200 billion tons of materials, covering every aspect from production and transportation to loading, unloading, and receipt. The plan meticulously mapped out transportation routes, the composition and deployment of the escort fleet, defense adjustments at each stage, and the advanced scouting of hyperspace channels. The objective was clear: to ensure the safe delivery of this vast quantity of materials to the designated location. The formation of the combat fleet was also proposed, comprising 170 transport ships. These ships, escorted by 40 Hunter-class battlecruisers, were to be primarily transported by 5 Jaeger-class assault landing ships, ensuring their safe arrival at the target. The Quat Drive Yards was expected to undertake this monumental task, and the order for the deployment and manufacture of the fleet bore the signature of none other than the chairman of the Galactic Parliament, Sheev Palpatine. This order called for the construction of hundreds of warships, directly influencing the future fleet distribution and offensive strategies of the Galactic Republic. However, during the final approval stage, the plan for additional battleships was rejected. Only the 5 Jaeger-class battlecruisers and some Carrack-class light cruisers, already retired from frontline service, were approved. The main reason cited was the lack of organized enemy fleets near the attack target. Despite this setback, all other material and personnel requests were granted. An army of 7 million was mobilized across 4 planets, undergoing intensive training in simulated environments that mirrored the topography of the target planet. A vast array of armored units, including ATTE Walkers, TX-130 Saber tanks, AV-7 self-propelled artillery, Zephyr-G speeder bikes, and turbo tanks, began to be outfitted by Rosa's heavy engineering company and prepared for deployment. This operation marked the Galactic Republic's most ambitious large-scale landing operation to date. The Republic spared no effort or expense in its preparation, a testament to the operation's significance. The financial burden was so immense that the Republic's Minister of Finance reportedly fainted upon reviewing the budget. This operation, involving 7 million troops, was unprecedented. Previously, the Republic, relying mainly on clone soldiers, rarely organized operations exceeding 500,000 troops. The logistical demands of sustaining such a vast force on a foreign planet were astronomical. Including Navy and logistics personnel, the total number of combatants involved neared 12 million. Such a plan, in any other context, would have been deemed reckless, potentially leading to immediate arrest or dismissal of those responsible. However, this plan bore the signature of Wilhuff Tarkin, lending it an air of undeniable authority. 2 months had passed since the plan's inception, and the operation was now on the brink of execution. On the planet Alderaan, within the capital of the Galactic Republic's Fourth Army, a staff officer hurried into the office with urgent news. Your Excellency, the Supreme Strategic Command has issued an urgent directive. The battle plan is to be launched 49 standard hours ahead of schedule. The room was tense, the gravity of the moment palpable, as preparations for one of the Republic's most daring operations accelerated. In the dimly lit office, acting governor of the Fourth Army, Wilhuff Tarkin, stood enveloped in shadows. Upon receiving the report, his response was a cold, "I see. Step back." With a crisp salute, the staff officer turned and exited, the door clicking shut behind him, plunging the room back into darkness. The only sound that led the space was Tarkin's heavy breathing. The communicator rang, and upon connection, a holographic projection of Sheev Palpatine, Speaker of the River Council, materialized before him. "I hope you're prepared, my friend, for a swift and decisive victory," Palpatine said. Tarkin, slightly taken aback, replied, "As I've maintained since the early days of the war, during the Battle of Bespin, the Galactic Republic lacks fear and deterrence. This deficiency forces us to exert more effort in employing tangible force to quell the insolent." "I couldn't agree more, Governor Tarkin," Palpatine responded with a smile. "It's unfortunate that we've missed several opportunities." "It's irrelevant. The Galactic Republic's inability to provide is precisely why we must succeed this time. We must crush separatism completely, rendering it powerless. We must ensure that other hostile galaxies in the Milky Way dare not challenge us again," Tarkin declared, his fists clenched with determination. "I will offer you all the support within my power, my friend. It's my duty as a comrade who shares your philosophy," Palpatine assured him. "Regrettably, I was unable to persuade the Council to allocate more battleships for our cause. They believe the fleet is needed more urgently elsewhere, such as in the Yago-Dur galaxy. I won't question the support you've provided, as I understand you've given all you can," Tarkin acknowledged. "But as for the Republic, well, we're all too aware of its current state. The timing is indeed unfortunate. There are still many within the Parliament clinging to their illusions," Palpatine noted. However, I believe that a flawless execution of this battle will significantly diminish the voices of opposition. And then, you will rightfully assume the position of Governor of the Fourth Army. Rest assured, Your Excellency, Planet Onderon, along with the production line of the Behemoth-class battlecruiser, will be crushed beneath the iron might of the Empire, Tarkin declared with a fierce determination. Oh, I believe you've chosen an incorrect term, my friend, Palpatine gently corrected, understanding Tarkin's sentiment. But in my heart, this is the galaxy's undeniable truth. Power is the ultimate truth, Tarkin proclaimed, bowing to Palpatine before turning to stride out of the office. Outside the office door, 2 guards clad in black robes stood motionless. Their faces were obscured by their robes, but even to the untrained eye, the formidable aura they exuded was palpable. Proceed to my flagship, the Tarkin's Will, Tarkin commanded without a backward glance. The plan to attack the planet Onderon was set in motion, codenamed Tarkin's Fist. April of 20 BBY was destined to be a month filled with significant events. During this time, the main fleet of the Fourth Army of the Galactic Republic faced its ultimate demise after being ensnared in the Semiles galaxy for over a month. The last 4 battered Hunter-class battlecruisers, manned by naval officers and soldiers who had not eaten for days and were devoid of ammunition and food, finally succumbed to their dire situation and surrendered. This marked the cessation of all warfare in the Semiles galaxy, but the cost of this conflict was immense, both for the planet Semiles and the Galactic Republic. The crisis began when the seasonal hyperspace channel was unexpectedly disrupted by an unknown force, rendering it unnavigable. This left the Galactic Republic's main fleet, one of the most formidable and highly ranked, stranded with no means of return. The situation deteriorated rapidly, not for the Navy initially, but for the more than 900,000 ground troops deployed on the planet Semiles. After the Clone Legion mysteriously perished in the city of Semirron, the capital of Semirth, the remaining forces could no longer hold their ground. The Clone Army's military operations against Semirron had required most of the air support, leaving the ground troops vulnerable and unable to fend off the separatist counterattack. Lieutenant General Dai Hong Kui, supported by forces from Dawn Planet, led a formidable assault with hundreds of Scorpio tanks. These tanks, nearly invincible in their onslaught, overwhelmed the Republic's ground troops. The Republic's forces, accustomed to traditional infantry and tank coordination tactics, were ill-prepared for Dai Hong Kui's blitzkrieg approach. Their last hope was that the clone troopers' success in capturing the governor of the Semirth people would halt the separatist armored swarms. However, this hope was shattered when the clone army was inexplicably annihilated by genetic weapons an hour later, leading to the organized surrender of the Republic's natural person troops. In the end, the Semirs captured more than 700,000 prisoners. In contrast to the ground battle, the space conflict presented a challenging scenario for separatist Admiral Trench. The Republic's Fourth Army's main fleet was significantly stronger than Admiral Trench's forces. The prolonged battle was sustained mainly due to the formidable firepower of the Aganev-class interstellar base orbiting high above Semirron. However, the Republic's fleet, undeterred by their severed retreat path, only grew stronger. The promotion of Admiral Davis to Navy Admiral and the subsequent elevation of each naval officer, coupled with promises of generous compensation for their families, bolstered the fleet's morale. Admiral Davis, now the first admiral of the Galactic Republic, led a relentless assault on the dock of the Endless-class super aircraft carrier. The Semirs had strategically positioned the dock barges of the Infinity-class super aircraft carrier between the Aganev-class interstellar base and the planet Semirs. This placement meant that any attack by the Republic fleet would be met with crossfire from both the interstellar base and the planet's ground defenses. This strategic positioning is what prolonged the battle for 10 days. The Republic fleet had never before launched an attack on the dock. However, driven by desperation, under the leadership of Marshal Davis, they laid siege to the dock of the Endless-class super aircraft carrier for 2 grueling days. Despite the loss of more than a dozen Hunter-class battlecruisers, the Republic fleet was forced to halt its assault. During this intense period, Admiral Trench, showcasing the defensive prowess that made him a legend in the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, managed to repel the relentless onslaught of the Republic fleet. Although the dock sustained significant damage in the battle, the half-completed prototype ship within it remained intact, and the structure of the dock itself held firm against the attack. The fleet under Admiral Trench's command also suffered considerable losses, surpassing the number of warships lost in the first 10 days of the war. The losses incurred by Marshal Davis's main fleet of the Fourth Army were even more devastating. Upon realizing the futility of his efforts to destroy the dock, Marshal Davis ordered a strategic retreat. He led the fleet to the outskirts of the galaxy for a brief respite before adopting guerrilla tactics. Dividing the Republic fleet into several small squadrons, Davis initiated hit-and-run operations throughout the Semmel's galaxy. He also deployed a formation of high-speed light cruisers specifically tasked with hunting down the formation of battleships equipped with ultra-long-range laser weapons, which he believed disrupted the balance of the battlefield. Meanwhile, other combat formations focused on attacking the transport fleets heading to the planet Semmels, which was in dire need of supplies after the devastating battle. Admiral Trench responded swiftly to these new tactics. He ordered the deployment of hyperspace blockers on several key hyperspace routes surrounding the Semmels galaxy, effectively trapping the Republic fleet within. Only a few shipping lanes were left open for the transport fleet. With the Republic fleet resorting to guerrilla warfare, Trench's forces found themselves in a relentless game of cat and mouse. The high-speed light cruisers, aiming to target the Lance-type disaster-class battlecruiser, were quickly neutralized by the two Hell's Angel-class battlecruisers escorting it, posing no significant threat. The conflict turned into a prolonged game of hide-and-seek until Marshal Davis's flagship was destroyed 20 days later. In his final moments, Davis sent a heartfelt message to the Galactic Republic government before meeting a heroic end. Following his death, Speaker Sheev Palpatine of the Republic declared a galaxy-wide moment of silence, with flags flown at half-mast in his honor. As the conflict on the planet Semmeles began to wane, attention shifted to the planet Mandalore. The main fleet of the Second Galaxy Army approached Mandalore with an ultimatum, demanding the planet's reorganization under the Galactic Republic's oversight and the abandonment of its neutral stance in the war. Prime Minister Almec of Mandalore, having recently ascended to the planet's highest leadership position, outright rejected the ultimatum, setting the stage for another potential outbreak of war. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website URL. Vol 2, Chapter 1372, Tarkin and Anakin. In the heart of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, within the barracks area, a somber mood hung in the air. "I'm sorry, Rex. I never anticipated things would escalate to this point," Anakin Skywalker sighed, his voice heavy with regret. "But given the current circumstances, it's clear you can no longer join the battlefield." He faced the group of clone soldiers before him, each a trusted partner and comrade in arms from the 501st Legion, Torrent Company. Rex, Echo, Longbow, Burden, Fox, Hertz, Peel. These individuals had stood by him through thick and thin, displaying unparalleled bravery across numerous battlefields, liberating countless planets and vanquishing endless hordes of battle droids. Yet, now they stood on the brink of an involuntary separation. The battlefield of Semmels had witnessed the deployment of a genetic weapon by the Separatists, a dire consequence of the earlier raid on Kamino. This weapon, capable of disintegrating clone soldiers at a genetic level, left them with no defense, rendering them obsolete on the battlefield. To the Galactic Republic, these soldiers were now deemed less valuable than even a child armed with a pistol, for at least the child might manage to fire 2 shots. Rex, undeterred, responded, "General Skywalker, even in death, we remain your soldiers. Have you forgotten our shared trials and triumphs? Our only wish is to meet our end on the battlefield, alongside you." Anakin shook his head, the weight of leadership heavy upon him. "I, too, yearn to continue fighting by your side, through victories and defeats alike. But this genetic weapon, it's a death sentence. You might not even make it to the battlefield." "Shouldn't soldiers meet their end in battle?" Echo interjected, "We could don the uniforms of natural-born soldiers, blending in unnoticed. The Separatists wouldn't dare deploy their genetic weapons at the slightest risk. Anakin remained resolute. It's impossible, Echo Rex. The Supreme Strategic Command has already decided on your retirement to a tranquil agricultural planet where you'll lead peaceful lives as farmers. This is the path laid out for you. Rex pleaded, You know we can't accept that life. General Skywalker, please, give us a chance. Anakin's heart was torn, but his decision was firm. I'd rather see you live than perish under that weapon. It's my final order, he declared, his voice echoing with finality before he turned and left, boarding a assault transport filled with natural-born soldiers in gray uniforms. Mocking jeers from the natural-born soldiers filled the air, ridiculing the clone soldiers as mere bereaved dogs. Anakin, already seething with frustration, unleashed a wave of force energy in response, causing immediate silence and chaos among the mockers. Despite the taunts and Anakin's departure, the clone soldiers stood their ground, their gazes still filled with hope and unwavering loyalty. Anakin, aboard the transport, couldn't help but feel a deep sense of conflict. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but the bonds forged in battle were not so easily broken. He stood at the entrance of the transport boat's cabin, offering a firm military salute to Rex and the others. As a Jedi Knight, his rank within the army was equivalent to that of a general. Traditionally, he was not required to salute, but he felt this was the most fitting way to express his respect for these brave and outstanding comrades in arms. Under the skilled piloting of someone who seemed to have divine intervention, the transport boat took off awkwardly and set its course towards outer space. Rex and his companions remained silent for a long while until Echo broke the silence. I respect every soldier who has bled for the Republic, but do these privileged masters even understand respect? He scoffed. Do you have any ideas, then? Rex inquired, knowing Echo often had unconventional plans. There's no need for a plan, Echo replied with a sneer. These old men wouldn't stand a chance if we really dead to act. Rex glanced at a few natural soldiers who were still struggling to rise from the ground and nodded in agreement. The LA-8I assault transport ship exited Coruscant's atmosphere and entered outer space, where dozens of warships of the Coruscant Defense Fleet patrolled. This fleet, stationed at Coruscant and never deployed elsewhere, was the most formidable within the entire Galactic Republic's military structure. Its strength was at least double that of the main fleets from other legions. Anakin Skywalker gazed out the window at these battleships, adorned with red and white patterns, feeling his mood darken and his spirit dampen. The LA-8I was designed for low-Earth orbit travel and didn't need to venture far, as their destination was a fleet stationed alone in a nearby airspace. This fleet, primarily composed of transport ships, boasted only a few Hunter-class battlecruisers and a massive Archon-class Star Destroyer. With its 600-meter length, the Star Destroyer's triangular wedge-shaped hull and towering bridge exuded a cold, industrial aesthetic. Approaching the battleship revealed its formidable armament, 3 arrays of dual-mounted heavy-duty turbo-laser cannons, each array equipped with 20 cannons. This was the Praetorian class, the new pride of the Galactic Republic Navy and the precursor to the Imperial class. Anakin's gaze turned even colder upon seeing this battleship, which should not have been present in the Republic Navy's lineup. The Consul-class Star Destroyer was not yet in full production or active service. With the Republic Navy still operating a large number of Jaeger-class battlecruisers, the Supreme Strategic Command had ordered more Knight-class Star Destroyers. The Knight class, lacking a hangar, complemented the Hunter class, which supported a significant number of carrier-based aircraft. The Consul-class Star Destroyer, nearly in the same series as the Knight class, had not seen large-scale construction. Lila Blissex, the chief warship design engineer at Kuat Power Dockyard, was continuously gathering combat data on the Knight class to refine the Archon class's design, aiming to perfect the future main battleship of the Galactic Republic. At this time, only a select few within the Galactic Republic's upper echelons could commandeer the few prototype ships built by Kuat Power Shipyard as their flagships. The large characters sprayed on the bridge of the Star Destroyer before him clearly indicated member. The identity of this person was none other than Wilhuff Tarkin's Will, This was Wilhuff Tarkin's flagship. Anakin Skywalker harbored not just hatred, but also contempt for Wilhuff Tarkin. He believed that Tarkin had ascended the ranks through flattery, forming cliques and gaining fame along the way. Yet, despite such a questionable rise, Tarkin enjoyed a lavish supply of resources within the Galactic Republic, becoming one of its most powerful figures. In contrast, Anakin admired individuals like Wolf Ularen, a general who had earned his stripes through hard-fought battles rather than political maneuvering. Despite his reluctance to admit it, Anakin felt a deep-seated hostility towards Tarkin, partly because Tarkin was a favored figure under Speaker Palpatine. Palpatine had praised Tarkin on multiple occasions, proclaiming his ideas as the most suitable and advanced for the galaxy. He even commissioned top writers to compile Tarkin's thoughts into a book titled Tarkinism, which was widely distributed. This favoritism made Anakin feel distanced from Palpatine, a thought that troubled him deeply. However, circumstances forced Anakin Skywalker to collaborate with Wilhuff Tarkin on a crucial military operation for the Galactic Republic, the Raiders of Onderon Planet, dubbed the Fist of Tarkin. The assault transport ship made its way into the Archon-class Star Destroyer, docking on the expansive platform. Thousands of soldiers had already assembled in a neat formation, ready for roll call. The operation within the spaceship proceeded with military precision, leaving no room for casual conversation about Anakin Skywalker. Despite his status as a Jedi Knight, which should have placed him on equal footing with an admiral, not a single person greeted him or offered guidance. This oversight was a clear sign of disrespect, souring Anakin's mood further. Lately, Anakin had faced a series of distressing events: the rebellion on Onderon, the death of Mina Bontry, the resurrection of his mother, the conspiracy of the Dead Angel, the retirement of clone troopers, and now, Wilhuff Tarkin. With his spirits already low, Anakin quickened his pace, his gaze cold and determined. When a group of soldiers obstructing his path, he used the Force to push one aside, continuing on his way without a second glance. Upon reaching the bridge, Anakin encountered the thin, middle-aged military figure of Wilhuff Tarkin, who stood silently at the center. Tarkin, aware of Anakin's arrival through surveillance, showed no interest in greeting him. Anakin, equally uninterested in pleasantries, approached Tarkin and stood beside him, his tone icy as he spoke. "With the resources you've allocated to this battle plan, we could have launched attacks in at least 5 other directions, Mr. Acting Governor." Anakin emphasized the word acting with disdain. "I never underestimate any opponent, young Jedi," Tarkin replied coldly. "What I seek is not merely a victory, but a demonstration of power. Only by instilling despair in the Separatists can we convey that opposing us is futile, leaving them no avenue for escape." He glanced at Anakin, adding, "You of all people should understand that deploying just the right amount of troops, as seen on Jabim or Christophsis, is insufficient. It's quite easy to fail, isn't it? For someone of your experience, this should be routine." Tarkin's mocking tone was evident, but Anakin's response was icy, his presence commanding as the Force vibrated around him. "I hope you and your soldiers truly understand the gravity of your battle plan, rather than finding yourselves adrift and frozen in the vastness of space." Wilhuff Tarkin, faced with Anakin's formidable demeanor, took a cautious step back, choosing not to escalate their verbal sparring. "Let's focus on our respective duties. I'll manage the fleet, and you ensure your soldiers are capable of securing our victory. After all, neither of us is keen on defeat, correct?" "That would be wise," Anakin conceded, turning to leave. Yet, as he did, a sudden disturbance in the Force halted him. He paused, his senses heightened, and turned sharply, alert to any threat. "Since you're here, wouldn't you greet your companions?" Tarkin's voice carried a hint of amusement. Anakin's expression shifted as he faced the direction of the voice. Laughter, light and mocking, filled the air, but only 2 figures were visible, one clad in red, the other in blue. Please remember the original domain name of this book. Vol 2, Chapter 1373, Troublesome Existence. Upon seeing the 2 figures approach, Anakin Skywalker's mood, already soured by annoyance, plummeted further. He wasn't just disheartened, he was also besieged by a headache. Within the entire Jedi Order, dealing with the twin sisters, Luna Dream and Luna Magic, was a task he found most daunting. It wasn't that Anakin harbored any dislike towards them. Rather, it was their unpredictability that left him at a loss. There were times when their intentions were a mystery, their actions caused unforeseen chaos, yet occasionally they proved to be incredibly reliable. More often than not, Anakin was left in the dark about their endeavors. The sisters' credentials were impeccable. Whether it was on the planet Harunkar or Kamino, they managed to find a sliver of hope for the Jedi Knights and the Galactic Republic in the most desperate situations. Their pure and luminous connection to the Force also made them darlings of the Jedi Order's elders. This placed them at the opposite end of the spectrum from Anakin, who, despite his high standing in the military, found acceptance among the Jedi Knights elusive. Conversely, while the sisters were favored by the Jedi, they were viewed by the military as unpredictable elements. "Hey, Skywalker, you're here!" Luna Huan greeted Anakin with a casual wave. "Mr. Tian Xingzai, good day," Luna Meng said, executing a polite curtsy, though her greeting seemed slightly amiss. Ah, that's right. This was another source of their headaches. After hearing Ahsoka Tano refer to herself as Tian Xingzi, the sisters adopted the moniker as well. Luna Huan's eccentric personality aside, it was baffling why the usually sensible Luna Meng would partake in such antics. This was more exasperating than amusing. Despite these minor irritations, Anakin found it hard to truly fault them. "I wasn't aware you two were assigned to this battle, Meng Huan," he said, attempting to maintain civility. He noticed Wilhuff Tarkin's grim expression and took solace in the fact that, at least on this matter, they shared common ground. "It was Master Windu's decision," Luna Huan exclaimed. Luna Meng added, "Master Windu is currently leading an expedition to the planet Mandalore. The local political situation is complex, making his return date uncertain. Additionally, Master Yoda has been unwell recently, necessitating more support on the planet Onderon. He sensed a significant darkness emanating from this direction." Wilhuff Tarkin interjected, "This significant darkness is your Jedi Order's concern. My priority is ensuring the success of this battle. It was supposed to commence at the end of January, but was delayed due to the Interstellar Banking Association's split and the betrayal by the Rendili Star Drive. The Fourth Army's main force, tasked with the primary assault, was lost in the Semilez galaxy. Given that the Separatists have likely been preparing on Onderon for over 2.5 months, we must ensure victory in this battle. Since you're concerned about the darkness, the sisters will join you in your efforts." With that, he effectively passed the responsibility of dealing with the sisters onto Anakin, signaling his desire not to be further troubled. "You think I'm thrilled to accompany a dull uncle? I'd rather be with the boys," Luna Huan retorted to Tarkin. Anakin couldn't help but feel a sense of schadenfreude as he observed Tarkin's frustration reaching its boiling point. Turning to the sisters, he said, "We need to select a commando team capable of achieving our objectives from among the natural soldiers. Additionally, we'll require a Chira-class assault landing ship to serve as our command center. Ahsoka Tano is already there. Let's head out." Their collaboration was off to a rocky start, but Anakin knew that navigating the complexities of working with the Luna sisters was an unavoidable part of their mission. Anakin Skywalker couldn't bear another moment in the company of Wilhuff Taquindo, especially with the added frustration of being unable to shake off to see persistent annoyances. "Tian Xingzi, your manner of speaking isn't amusing. It's akin to that of this bald uncle," Luna Huan remarked, her finger wagging in emphasis. Anakin made a swift exit, eager to leave the scene. Despite the Dream Sisters' presence, their restraint from employing illusions to tease those around them was a small mercy, given their current setting within the military. In the inner ring of the Milky Way, towards the east, lies the planet Onderon. The looming threat of a large-scale invasion by the Galactic Republic has been a source of torment for the planet's population of over 10 million for nearly 3 months. It's widely acknowledged that Onderon, despite its location in the strategically significant Inner Ring, lacks the military power to fend off the Republic's forces. As the Republic launched its counterattack plan, Onderon found itself isolated, surrounded by Republic-controlled territories within the Federation of Independent Galaxies. This situation isn't unique. Planets like Cato Nemo India and Balmora Nemo India, under the Trade Federation's control, and Skako, managed by the Technological Union, face similar circumstances. However, these planets either boast advanced industrial capabilities for self-defense or possess sufficient wealth to hire protection. The Galactic Republic, cautious of the potential backlash, has hesitated to engage in aggressive military actions against such well-defended inner circle planets. Unfortunately, Onderon lacks these advantages, leaving its inhabitants in despair as they face the imminent threat of invasion. Yet, the people of Onderon have not surrendered. They cling to a sliver of hope that the Confederation of Independent Galaxies might come to their aid, repelling the Republic's invasion. Achieving a stalemate, similar to the situation of other inner circle planets, represents the best possible outcome for Onderon. The reputation of the Galactic Republic on Onderon is abysmal, viewed as nothing short of a malevolent invader. The citizens harbor deep-seated fear and loathing towards the Republic, seeing it as the source of their impending doom. Vol 2, Chapter 1374, The Status of Planet Onderon. Before the outbreak of the war, Tang Xiao had already initiated the construction of large-scale factories and interstellar docks on the planet Onderon, leveraging his connections with the Interstellar Banking Association. Concurrently, Earl Dooku orchestrated a coup led by Sanji Rush to dethrone the old king, Ramses Dundup, steering the planet towards the path of separatism. The manufacturing facilities on Onderon were a joint venture between Tyron Heavy Industries and the Interstellar Banking Association, boasting an impressive scale. Over the next few years, Onderon staunchly supported the separatist cause, causing the Galactic Republic to tread carefully regarding this inner ring planet. The Republic preferred a strategy of peaceful evolution, given that Onderon's support for separatism was more political posturing than an outright declaration of war. However, the discovery of behemoth-class battlecruisers being manufactured for the separatists on Onderon raised alarms within the Galactic Republic. By then, the war had escalated, and the Republic harbored hopes that a successful internal rebellion could potentially hand them the complete production capabilities for the behemoth-class battlecruisers, a significant boon for their naval forces. Had Tang Xiao been aware of the Republic's calculations, he would have scoffed at their naivety. The investments from the Interstellar Banking Association and the establishment of a vast factory complex and interstellar shipyard on Dexon, one of Onderon's 4 moons, created millions of jobs and significantly boosted the planet's economy. Previously, with a population of merely 4 million, Onderon could hardly fathom the economic prosperity it now enjoyed. The population surged to approximately 20 million, enhancing the planet's overall strength and facilitating rapid development. Onderon's status as an inner ring planet meant it already possessed a solid industrial and technological foundation. This was evident in its capability to manufacture high-precision components and its comprehensive higher education system, which produced a steady stream of skilled talent. Tang Xiao, keen on establishing a robust peripheral industrial system, chose Onderon for its strategic advantages. Opting for an inner ring planet minimized the risk of interference from external forces like Earl Dooku, who was closely aligned with Darth Sidious at the time. Moreover, the outer ring planets lacked the necessary industrial and scientific infrastructure, which would have delayed the production of the Behemoth-class battlecruisers. Tang Xiao's vision for Onderon was ambitious. He hoped the planet could navigate the political landscape as adeptly as the Yago-Dur planet of the Ji-Wen people, maintaining a delicate balance between the Republic and the Separatists. His strategy was partially successful. Onderon indeed managed to leverage its position to some extent, but the complexities of interstellar politics and warfare presented unforeseen challenges. Under the unsuspecting eyes of the Galactic Republic, the planet Onderon developed a behemoth-class battlecruiser much earlier than anticipated. This development raised concerns for both Earl Dooku and the Galactic Republic. The strategic oversight was significant. The planet, previously inconspicuous and overlooked, had managed to produce dozens of prototype ships, some of which had already seen action in the early battles on the planet Christophsis. This oversight now placed Tang Xiao in a precarious situation, as Onderon faced the imminent threat of capture by the Galactic Republic. The inhabitants of Onderon harbored a palpable hostility towards the Galactic Republic. Despite its solid industrial foundation, Onderon was sparsely populated and relatively small, missing out on the benefits typically enjoyed by inner-ring planets. Instead, the planet found itself exploited by the Galactic Republic's major capitalists. The arrival of Tyrant-heavy industries on Onderon was a turning point. The company's establishment offered employment opportunities to many, involving a complex system that spanned dozens of fields and involved hundreds of millions of processes. The construction of just one warship could significantly impact the planet's economy, making the entire planet's operations revolve around this production line. Consequently, the people of Onderon, now receiving salaries and benefits from Tyron-heavy industries and experiencing an elevated status in interstellar affairs, grew increasingly resentful of the Galactic Republic. Complicating matters further was the rebellion movement led by Saw Gerrera and Steel Gerrera. Initially aimed at overthrowing the separatist government, the movement's misguided strategies led to its radicalization. The resulting terrorist attacks and sabotage operations not only failed to achieve their goals but also inflicted heavy civilian casualties and widespread destruction. This, in turn, vilified the movement, likening its members to pariahs. Propaganda efforts later painted Saw Gerrera's rebellion as being supported by the Galactic Republic, intensifying the planet's animosity towards the Republic. In a decisive move, the super-tactical droid General Kalani, dispatched by Earl Dooku, took dramatic action on Onderon. He publicly executed Mina Bontry, a parliament member suspected of collaborating with the rebels, and killed the planet's regent, the disgraced Sanji Rush, under the accusation of an assassination attempt on the former king, Ramses Dundup. Following these executions, General Kalani announced the release of Ramses Dundup from imprisonment and invited him to reclaim his throne. These actions highlighted General Kalani's strategic acumen, distinguishing him as a super-tactical robot with developed self-awareness. Ramses Dundup, understanding the implications of General Kalani's maneuvers, chose to withdraw from the public eye. He recognized that any decision he made, whether to accept or refuse the invitation to the throne, would be detrimental. Despite Dundup's inaction, General Kalani proceeded to declare Onderon under military control, signaling a full preparation for battle against the Galactic Republic. This series of events underscored the complex dynamics at play on Onderon, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation. Volume 2, Chapter 1375, The Final Moment. In the capital of planet Onderon, Izzy City, a woman shrouded in a black cloak, with only her masked face visible, entered a bar. She took a seat at the counter and requested in a subdued tone, 2 glasses of Malgan, please. The bartender, who was busy wiping a plate, responded apologetically, I'm sorry, miss, but starting today, we're no longer selling alcohol. He gestured towards a holographic screen displaying a robot avatar with a flat head and 3 eyes, beside which were the words, no alcohol. Then, 2 cups of Card Star juice, the woman said, unfazed by the change. Quickly, the bartender poured 2 glasses of light green juice and slid them across the counter to her. She picked up 1 glass and took a sip. Her mask was elaborate, reminiscent of those worn at masquerades, yet the lower part left her chin and mouth exposed. The woman's jawline was pronounced, lending her a certain rugged charm that contrasted with the delicate mask. A young man approached, leaning casually against the bar. Hey, miss, do you perform in the entertainment district of the Eastern District? He inquired with a hint of provocation. Given that the Eastern District is likely shut down now, does that mean you've had a quiet night? The Galactic Republic's army will arrive soon. Do you really think this is the time for idle chatter? The woman retorted, not outright dismissing the man's attempt at flirtation. What does the Republic's army have to do with me? The man smirked, unfazed. They're probably more concerned with the factory on the Dirksen satellite. Once Dirksen falls, we'll surrender. And he shifted his stance, leaning closer with a suggestive tone. With the end times upon us and a rain of fire from the sky, shouldn't we leave something behind for each other? Maybe we could start with our names. Mine is Seth. Seth, he emphasized, his breath carrying a hint of allure, clearly experienced in such encounters. Judgment, the woman replied curtly. What? Deep dish? Seth was momentarily taken aback, then realized she had no intention of engaging further as she turned to leave. However, a sudden commotion outside halted her departure. "Wait! Don't go out there!" Seth exclaimed, but the woman continued. In a swift motion, Seth reached out and grabbed her cloak. Judgment glanced back, pausing even though she could easily have thrown Seth a considerable distance. Outside, a crowd was forming, shouting at a line of B-1 battle droids, "Robots, get out of Onderon! Dexon can have you! Fight the Republic there! Onderon belongs to humans, not robots." The B-1 droids remained unfazed by the provocation, adhering to their programmed rote. Suddenly, a protester hurled a flaming bottle at one of the droids, engulfing it in flames. However, the fire, mere hundreds of degrees hot, did nothing to the droids. After the attack, the droids turned, their electronic voices declaring, "An attack occurred. Arrest immediately." "Roger, Roger," they chorused, as the instigator fled. The B-1 droids began their pursuit, their actions methodical and unyielding amidst the chaos. Amidst the chaos outside, as people scrambled and shoved in an attempt to halt the advancing turmoil, Judgment stood by the glass door, observing the scene unfold with a serene detachment. Seth, leaning against the door, voiced his concern with a hint of fear. "I can't fathom how you remain so composed. At the first sign of trouble outside, you should be seeking refuge indoors. Those out there are rebels, up to no good. They've been causing destruction everywhere for months, leaving many dead in their wake." He then suggested, "How about we grab another drink? My treat. I'm also curious about the story behind your unique name." Judgment, showing a flicker of interest, turned slightly and inquired, "You're interested in the story of my name?" "I don't know it, but your mask seems to tell a tale," Seth replied earnestly, his expression one of genuine intrigue. Convinced, Judgment moved towards the bar once more. At that moment, the holographic projector, which had previously displayed a prohibition on alcohol, now broadcasted a new message. A robot, distinguished by its flat head, 3 eyes, and intricate patterns, stood at a podium and announced emphatically, "People of planet Onderon, the Galactic Republic's intentions to seize our planet through force are becoming increasingly evident. To protect our lives, our factories, our land, and our families, we must." Seth, clearly annoyed, turned to the bartender. "Fabian, can't you turn this off and play something more soothing?" "It's mandatory. Can't be turned off," the bartender replied, his demeanor unaffected by the ongoing events. "Oh, great. Are we doomed to endure this till the end? Can't we just enjoy our last moments in peace?" Seth lamented. "Then take it up with him, General Kalani," the bartender suggested, nodding towards the robot in the projection. "Return to the General? It's merely a robot that's overdue for a memory wipe," Seth retorted dismissively, before taking a sip of the castor juice he hadn't yet paid for. "That's actually my drink," Judgment pointed out, a touch of annoyance in his voice. Feigning surprise, Seth responded, "Oh, my apologies. I got carried away. So what would you like? It's on me." "First, settle yesterday's tab," the bartender interjected, unamused. "Can't you take a joke, Fabian?" Seth shot back, visibly irritated. Before he could finish his sentence, a deafening explosion rocked the area outside the door. A hovercar plummeted from the sky and exploded upon impact with the ground, its burning wreckage blocking the bar's entrance. "It's the end. The rebels have gone too far. Let's head for the back door." Seth, now pale with fear, grabbed Judgment and made for the exit. Inside the bar, panic ensued as customers scrambled in all directions, though those familiar with the layout made a beeline for the back door. Amidst the chaos, a shrill air defense siren blared over the city. General Kalani's calm electronic voice issued a stern command through the radio. "The city of Izzy is now under martial law. I repeat, the city of Izzy is under martial law. Everyone is to return to their residences immediately. In 10 minutes, anyone found on the streets will be shot. I repeat." Volume 2, Chapter 1376, The Eve of the Storm. In the vast expanse of space surrounding the planet Onderon, a sudden burst of white light heralded the arrival of a formidable force. 5 Jaeger-class battlecruisers emerged from the hyperspace channel, their presence an ominous sign of the conflict to come. Without a moment's delay, the cruisers deployed their front hangar platforms, launching hundreds of fighter jets into the planet's atmosphere. Among these aircraft were the Galactic Republic's standard V-19 Torrent fighters, accompanied by over 100 of the advanced V-Wing light fighters. Fully equipped, these 5 Jaeger-class battlecruisers could unleash more than 2,000 aircraft, a testament to their overwhelming air combat capabilities. Onderon's outer orbit lacked the formidable defenses of an Argonev-class interstellar base, possessing only a large spaceport and an armed space station. The planet's defense forces, recognizing the futility of engaging the incoming Republic fleet, opted for a passive defense strategy, seeking refuge within their own space zone. General Kalani, I've just received an alert. The Republic fleet has invaded. The holographic projection displayed the determined face of General Akhenath Tandon, the military commander of Onderon. General Kalani, his voice calm and electronic, responded, "This is confirmed. However, the Republic's actions are merely a preliminary assault." "We must evacuate the civilians immediately," Tandon insisted. "I've already declared martial law, ordering everyone to remain indoors. Those who disobey will face immediate execution," General Kalani stated, his tone unyielding. "You're sentencing them to death. If they're trapped in buildings during the conflict, they'll have no chance of escape," Tandon argued passionately. "It's impractical to evacuate the entire population of Izzy City or to have had them living in shelters for the past 2 months. This outcome was inevitable," Kalani explained with chilling rationality. Tandon struggled to contain his anger, his voice strained as he replied, "You're driving our planet to its doom, forcing us to spill our last drop of blood in a battle against the Galactic Republic." "I'm merely protecting the interests of the Confederation of Independent Galaxies," Kalani retorted. "Now, ready your forces. You've had 2 months since I ordered the conscription of 1 million people, yet you've completed less than 1/5 of that. I expect you to use what limited forces you have to delay the Republican army." "And if I choose to surrender?" Tandon asked, his expression darkening. "The Dexon satellite will inflict severe casualties on the Galactic Republic. If you believe they will treat you kindly after such losses, granting you freedom and dignity, then by all means, surrender," Kalani replied coldly. "Humph, even the battle droid beside me doesn't seem as confident as you," Tandon sneered, gesturing to the B-2 super battle droids aiming their weapons at him. "At least, I wish to offer our people a chance at survival," Tandon said, turning away, his demeanor grim. "When the Republic fleet launched their surprise attack, they didn't intend to leave us any options. Prepare for battle," Kalani stated flatly. Meanwhile, in Izzy City on the planet Onderon, the once orderly patrols of combat robots had descended into chaos. The streets, illuminated by the red glow of E5 blaster rifles, echoed with the sounds of gunfire. The citizens, hidden within their homes, dared not make a sound. Amidst the turmoil, a lone figure laughed maniacally, brandishing a blaster pistol and firing at the combat robots. "The Republic is coming! The Republic is coming!" he shouted, his laughter a stark contrast to the fear gripping the city. In the next moment, a gunshot rang out, followed swiftly by another from across the street. The sound drew several robots, which immediately moved to investigate. From the shadows, 2 figures emerged quietly, Judgment and Seth. Seth's complexion was ashen, his grip on Judgment's arm tight, yet there was no hint of affection in his touch. Fear was the only emotion he harbored at that moment. "Damn it! How are we going to get out of here? Those robots are actually killing people," Seth whispered in a panic. "It seems the Galactic Republic is conducting a military operation. The robots are clearing the streets to make way for combat," Judgment replied, her voice steady as she analyzed the situation. "It's likely a surprise attack by the Galactic Republic. Hence, there was no prior warning." She paused, considering her next words carefully. Given that the planet Onderon is encircled within the Galactic Republic's territory, their forces are stretched too thin to monitor every hyperspace channel around the planet. You have a keen understanding of the Republic's strategies. "I don't care about that. I just want to get out of here," Seth interjected, his voice laced with desperation. "There's a residential building up ahead. We can take refuge there," Judgment pointed out, indicating a direction. "We just need to cross this street. The robot patrol at the far end will likely shift their attention this way in 3 minutes." "Quickly, then," Seth urged, following Judgment without a second thought. Upon reaching the residential building, Seth knocked frantically on the door. but it remained closed despite the visible movement inside. "Open the door! Damn it! Open up!" he shouted, to no avail. Just as Seth was about to pound on the door again, Judgment swiftly pulled him aside, concealing them in the shadows. The hum of engines filled the air as an AAT armored assault tank, accompanied by several B-1 battle droids, slowly passed by. Collapsing to the ground, Seth buried his head in his hands. "We're gonna die here." "There's no escape," he lamented. Judgment, however, remained composed, her gaze fixed on the night sky. "Everyone dies, including me. But before I do, I want to witness as much as I can." The silence that followed was broken by Seth's murmur. "Before we die, how about a kiss? Considering the stars above us could be Republic warships, you're still concerned about a kiss?" Judgment responded, her tone light. "What else should I focus on? How to bring down the Republic's warships?" Seth replied with a bitter smile, waving his hand dismissively. "From the moment I met you, I knew you were extraordinary. Your calmness, even now, is remarkable. A kiss from you would make facing death worthwhile." He paused before adding, "You're a Jedi, aren't you? From Count Dooku's side? Kissing a Jedi would be something." Judgment merely glanced at him, choosing not to respond to his comment. "Let's move. Over there," she said, directing his attention. Seth followed her gaze just in time to see a rocket, trailing flames, strike the passing AAT tank directly. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. Vol 2, Chapter 1377, Rebel Army. A violent explosion erupted, sending the B-1 battle robot atop the AAT armored assault tank soaring into the sky. Although the rocket failed to penetrate the tank's armor, it left a large, charred dent, deforming the armor significantly. Amidst the ensuing chaos, the AAT tank accelerated abruptly, crashing into a nearby building with a thunderous crash. It then began to reverse, its turret rotating swiftly to fire a shot in the direction from which the rocket had been launched. The cannon's shot, fired in haste, missed its mark, shearing off a corner of a building's roof. The sound of the firefight attracted additional robots. Upon sighting civilians fleeing the damaged buildings, these robots opened fire without a moment's hesitation. Several civilians were struck down, falling to the ground lifelessly. Witnessing this, Seth's eyes welled with tears. "Those robots! Bastards!" he exclaimed, his voice choked with emotion. Suddenly, he noticed that Judgment had moved. Like a specter, she had vanished from his side, a yellow lightsaber now in her hand. She charged at the B-1 battle robots, her movements lacking elegance but exuding deadly precision and ferocity. Each strike was a death sentence, piercing through a robot's central processing unit, causing it to fall, emitting thick smoke. With astonishing agility, she leaped over 10 meters, slicing through the AAT tank's gun barrel with her lightsaber, then swiftly circled to its rear. In a fluid motion, she plunged her lightsaber into the tank's energy core. The tank lost its suspension, crashing to the ground. The hatch flew open, and the B-1 robots operating the tank emerged, only to be swiftly dispatched by Judgment's blade. In less than 2 minutes, she had eliminated over 30 robots. Turning to the stunned civilians, she advised, "Find a place to hide and try to avoid the streets." The civilians, still in shock, nodded and began to scatter, moving away from the building now on the brink of collapse. Suddenly, someone pointed at the metal hilt of Judgment's lightsaber and shouted, "She's a Jedi! She's a Jedi!" Judgment glanced at her lightsaber hilt, a shadow of sadness crossing her face. "Yes, where are the Jedi Knights?" she murmured. 4,000 years ago, I was part of the Jedi Covenant, a faction of the Jedi Order. In a sense, I was indeed a Jedi Knight. Celeste Morn. Jedi Covenant. Shadow. 4,000 years. At that moment, an older man pointed accusingly at her and yelled, "Bastard! You're part of the force that invaded us with the Galactic Republic's fleet." Judgment looked up, her gaze meeting that of the people around her. They stood back, fear and anger etched on their faces. Yet they dared not move too far, lest they attract the attention of the robots. "Jedi Knights should leave our planet," another shouted. "You're the ones supporting the rebels. My elder brother died in that power plant explosion." Judgment stood amidst the angry and fearful crowd, feeling lost. As a shadow, she had never been one for words, but now she was unsure of how to respond. She had saved these people to prevent a massacre, yet they met her actions with hostility rather than gratitude. Hey! Shut up. Do you want to attract more robots? Seth intervened, coming to her defense. Remember, she just saved your lives. The robots will send reinforcements at any time. You should find a place to hide immediately, Judgment added, her tone firm. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the people hurriedly moved towards other buildings, seeking refuge. However, no one dared to open their doors. The recent attack by the robots had left everyone in a state of fear and distrust. An AAT armored assault tank had been destroyed. Introducing these civilians into the fray now seemed like adding fuel to the fire. Despite their desperate pounding and cries at the door, it remained unopened. The unmistakable sound of an engine, accompanied by the characteristic clatter of B-1 robot's footsteps, signaled imminent danger. The city guard, having lost several robots, would undoubtedly send reinforcements. The situation was dire. Suddenly, a yellow lightsaber ignited in the hands of the judge, casting an eerie glow. She turned to the civilians and urged, "Keep running. Make for the building." The civilians, spurred by her command, scrambled towards safety. The judge then noticed Seth, who remained motionless, and inquired, "Why aren't you fleeing?" "You truly are a Jedi Knight," Seth observed with a mix of awe and complexity in his gaze. "I wish to follow you." Before she could respond, a B-1 robot approached, firing relentlessly. The judge's movements were a blur, her lightsaber deflecting the incoming blasts with precision. Several robots were destroyed by their own rebounded fire. Unfortunately, some of the fleeing civilians were caught by stray shots. Seth, however, remained unharmed, shielded by his proximity to the judge. Suddenly, a rocket launched, striking an OTT half-track personnel carrier behind them, obliterating it in a massive explosion. From the shadows, a group of soldiers in combat gear emerged, opening fire on the robots. After neutralizing a few, their leader signaled, "This way. Hurry." The civilians, driven by a renewed sense of hope, rushed towards the soldiers. The judge, with Seth in tow, provided cover, deflecting the robots' blasts as they retreated. They reached a collection of suspension trucks, where many civilians were already boarding. The soldiers quickly loaded everyone onto the trucks, then mounted suspension motorcycles to escort them, kicking up clouds of dust as they departed. The judge, seated in one of the trucks, observed the heavily armed fighters in silence. "These people are rebels," Seth remarked, breaking the silence. "I'm aware," the judge responded tersely. "And as a Jedi Knight, you should be their ally," Seth noted, his tone laced with a hint of provocation. "I am not," she replied firmly. Changing the subject abruptly, Seth asked, "Then, are you sure you don't want to kiss me?" "I do not," she stated, dismissing the frivolity of his question. The convoy continued, eventually arriving at an underground parking lot, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their escape. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website. Vol 2, Chapter 1378, Stella Gerrera. In a hidden underground parking lot, a secret base bustled with activity. Among the rebels, a heroic young woman in her early 30s approached the newly arrived civilians with a message of hope. "Don't be afraid," she assured them. "We are fighting against the oppressive robot regime, not the people. Arrangements will be made to escort you out of the city soon. Izzy City is on the brink of becoming a war zone." Whispers spread through the crowd. "That's Stella Gerrera, the leader of the rebel army. General Kalani has placed a bounty of 500,000 credits on her head," someone exclaimed. Stella addressed the crowd with a calm yet firm tone. "I would advise against harboring any thoughts about the bounty. Even if you were to capture me, it's unlikely General Kalani would honor it. After all, a bullet costs far less than 500,000 credits." Over the months of struggle, Stella had grown significantly. Her demeanor was composed, her eyes sharp. She no longer resisted the title of rebel leader. It was clear she had embraced her role, understanding it as a responsibility rather than a quest for power. "General Kalani has shown blatant disregard for your lives, imposing martial law and confining you to your homes without concern for your basic needs. His only interest is in binding our planet, Onderon, to the separatist cause," Stella declared. A civilian challenged her. "How are you any better than those robots? You bombed the power plant and the transport ship. You're all the same." Before the situation could escalate, a rebel soldier moved to silence the critic, but Stella gestured for him to stop. She addressed the civilians sincerely. I don't wish to argue. My only goal is to ensure your safety outside the city, where refuge facilities can shield you from the war. We cannot ignore those who have been targeted by the robots. A middle-aged man stood up, pointing accusingly at Stella. You dare claim we were hunted by robots? We were safe until your attack on a robot tank caused it to crash into our hotel, forcing us to flee. This is your fault. Stella responded with humility. I am deeply sorry for the harm caused. That tank was targeting our convoy, and had it succeeded, many would have perished. We had no choice but to neutralize the threat. She then turned to address a figure who had been observing the exchange. I also wish to express my gratitude to you, respected Jedi Knight, for your assistance. I'm no longer a Jedi Knight, the figure replied, hinting at a deeper story. Stella smiled wryly, acknowledging the complex history and current alliances. Regardless, your help has been invaluable in evading the robot's pursuit. The conversation shifted as the figure, now known as the judge, inquired about Stella's plans for the civilians. Stella shared her dilemma. I lack the power to reclaim our planet or stop the Galactic Republic's invasion. My only aim is to save as many innocent lives as possible. Stella's commitment to protecting civilians, even in the face of overwhelming odds, highlighted her leadership and the difficult choices she faced in a war-torn world. Stella Gerrera's eyes sparkled with hope as she responded to the offer of assistance. Having the support of the Jedi Knights would be invaluable. With your help, we can save many more lives. However, a rebel soldier standing nearby interjected with a note of bitterness. Let's not forget that the Jedi Knights once abandoned us, and now they return with their fleet. Seth, unable to hold back, chimed in. She just mentioned she's not a Jedi Knight. The rebel soldier snapped at him, and when was it your turn to speak? Stella, choosing to focus on the positive, stepped forward gracefully and addressed the newcomer. I'm Stella Gerrera, leading my companions in a fight for our beliefs. Your name is... Judgment, came the reply. Judgment? Stella repeated, a hint of surprise in her voice, but she didn't press further. Turning to her soldiers, she instructed, prepare to evacuate these civilians. Oh, once they reach the refuge, the government will surely provide for them. Seth, however, had other plans. I'm not leaving. I've decided to follow you. I won't kiss you, Judgment stated plainly, locking eyes with him. That's not what I meant, Seth protested, throwing his hands up. I just want to be by your side, to observe and perhaps be protected by you? Yes, Judgment responded, breaking eye contact. Seth couldn't resist teasing. Oh, so does yes mean you'll kiss me or protect me? Stella Gerrera, witnessing their exchange, mistook it for flirtatious banter and discreetly moved away. Meanwhile, in the vastness of space, the planet Onderon and its orbiting moons found themselves under siege. The Galactic Republic's 5 Jaeger-class battlecruisers had positioned themselves 30 light seconds from Onderon, unleashing a barrage of fighter jets to dismantle the planet's defense systems. This initial assault was not aimed at immediate conquest, but rather to weaken Onderon's defenses, paving the way for a decisive strike to crush any resistance. The aerial combat was fierce, but the Vulture droid fighters defending Onderon were quickly overwhelmed, with hundreds being destroyed in the first hour alone. On Dexon, Onderon's largest moon, a transformation was underway. What was once a production line for the formidable Behemoth-class battlecruisers was now being repurposed. Advanced equipment had been evacuated, and the remaining facilities were being adapted to produce defensive weaponry. This strategic shift allowed for the rapid production of anti-aircraft guns and heavy laser cannons, turning the area into a veritable fortress bristling with thousands of turrets. Despite falling within the Republic's sphere of influence, Onderon, with its robust industrial capabilities, was far from defenseless. Vol 2, Chapter 1379, Battle of Onderon. The Dexon satellite, the largest of the 4 satellites orbiting the planet Onderon, is more akin to a twin planet than a mere satellite. Despite being referred to as a satellite, Dexon's diameter spans over 7,000 kilometers, making it and Onderon appear as a pair of sibling planets. Their proximity is such that from April to May each year, according to the Milky Way Standard Time, their atmospheres are drawn together by mutual gravitational forces, creating a unique cloud belt that connects the two worlds. This phenomenon has led to the Dexan satellite and Onderon sharing remarkably similar ecological environments and landscapes, both dominated by vast expanses of primeval jungle. Scientists speculate that billions of years ago, Onderon might have been a colossal planet with a diameter exceeding 24,000 kilometers before a catastrophic comet impact divided it into its current form and its 4 satellites. Despite this, Onderon, with its current diameter of 15,000 kilometers, remains one of the largest habitable planets in the galaxy. Its sparse population has never felt the need to colonize Dexan, as space has never been an issue. Nearly 4,000 years ago, during the war against the Galactic Republic instigated by Ultimate Mandalore, the Dexan satellite served as a forward base for the Mandalorian Crusaders. It was preserved throughout the conflict and subsequently abandoned, with the jungle reclaiming the once massive Mandalorian bases over time. However, the selection of this location by the Interstellar Banking Association and Tiran Heavy Industries as the industrial base for the Behemoth-class battlecruiser breathed new life into the area. The enormous base, capable of housing millions of troops, was excavated from the primeval jungle. Despite being engulfed by vegetation for years, the base suffered minimal damage, making its sturdy grounds and numerous buildings the perfect foundation for constructing factories, a research center, and a vast production line for the Behemoth-class battlecruiser. Years of operation and production have transformed the base, which now bustles with activity, its landscape a blend of Steel's gray and the Flame's red. A squadron of V-19 light fighter jets pierced through the thick atmosphere of the Dexan satellite, leaving long trails in the humid air. Below them lay a sprawling city of steel, covering an area of over 500 kilometers in radius. The city's grounds displayed the assembly of more than a dozen Behemoth-class battlecruisers. The ground's air defense radar immediately locked on to the incoming fighter jets. Missile launchers, usually concealed underground, emerged and adjusted their aim to track the jets' flight paths. A comprehensive anti-aircraft defense network was activated, consisting of point defense lasers, 6-barrel electromagnetic cannons unleashing barrages, large-caliber cannons firing delayed high-explosive bombs, and an array of medium-range and long-range anti-aircraft missiles. Surrounding the city, countless B-1 battle droids and B-2 super battle droids took positions, their blaster rifles aimed skyward. In a nearby hangar, the roof hatch slid open, releasing hundreds of Vulture droid fighters into the sky to confront the invading Republic fighters. This aggressive response was triggered by an event just an hour prior, when a fighter group from the Galactic Republic destroyed an armed space station on the outskirts of Onderon, along with the spaceport. The spaceport had suffered significant damage, and it was only the Republic's apparent desire to keep it operational that prevented its total destruction. Without the armed space station's protection, the Republic's fighter formations could penetrate the Dexan satellite's defenses unchallenged. These fighters executed a high-speed flyover above the Dexan satellite before diving towards a factory housing 3 semi-finished Behemoth-class battlecruisers. At that moment, the ground's anti-aircraft defenses sprang to life, filling the sky with a barrage of laser and D-cannon fire. The air became saturated with defensive fire as point defense lasers targeted the incoming fighters. Electromagnetic cannons unleashed rapid barrages, and high-explosive shells detonated among the attackers. The sky was ablaze with explosions, leaving no escape for the incoming fighters. One after another, the fighters were shot down, erupting into fireballs as they fell. Even a proton torpedo, launched in a desperate attempt by one of the falling fighters, was intercepted and destroyed by the dense anti-aircraft fire. Inside a pyramid-shaped building within this steel city, General Kalani stood before a window, hands clasped behind his back, silently observing the chaos unfolding in the sky. His 3 electronic eyes adjusted focus, capturing every detail of the one-sided conflict. "The fighters are unmanned," General Kalani remarked in a flat tone. "Does the Galactic Republic think they have too many fighter jets?" Colonel Lu Jichao, a senior officer wearing the uniform of the Fourth Civilization, asked with a frown. He was the military commander sent by Tiran Heavy Industries to the Dexan satellite and served as General Kalani's adjutant providing a balance to the general's authority. General Kalani did not directly respond to the question. Instead, he inquired, "What's the status of those behemoth-class battlecruisers?" The decoys, constructed from wood and metal sheets, are nearly complete. About 1/3 are equipped with the actual armor of behemoth-class ships and contain a signal generator that can somewhat disrupt their targeting systems, leading them to believe we're still producing behemoths here, Liu Jichao explained. "Very good," General Kalani responded, then fell silent, continuing to gaze out the window. Liu Jichao understood that General Kalani, being a robot, could stand motionless for extended periods without issue, so he returned to his duties. After a while, General Kalani, still facing the window, suddenly asked, "How long do you think the planet Onderon will hold?" Liu Jichao pondered the question. "The people of Onderon appreciate the employment and benefits we provide, but they also fear the Galactic Republic's military might. Their will to resist is not strong. I'd give it a week at most before Onderon falls." "No, the Republic will take Onderon in a day," General Kalani stated. Surprised, Liu Jichao asked, "What makes you say that?" "Look, the Republic's battleship is on the move," General Kalani said, turning his attention to a radar screen in the command center. Indeed, a radar operator announced, "Enemy ship detected firing." "Raise the deflector shield," an officer commanded. With the press of a button, a massive hemispherical structure at the city's center emitted a brilliant light. This light condensed into a beam that shot towards the sky, then expanded about 10,000 meters above the ground, soon enveloping the entire city with a city-level deflector shield. Beams of light from the sky. In an instant, an object plummeted from the sky, striking the deflector shield with a dull thud as energies collided. The shield flickered momentarily before holding firm, unscathed. "The Republic's battleship is approaching. Detection of the main gun charging," reported the radar operator. General Kalani responded promptly, "Activate the orbital defense. Half. Single group. Engage the single-array orbital defense system." The command was swiftly executed. Within the Steel City, massive orbital defense cannons, each with a spherical main body partially buried underground, raised their barrels. These cannons, equipped with a supporting close-in defense system, surpassed the firepower of the heavy-duty turbolaser cannons found on battleships. Their ground-based positioning allowed for direct connection to a vast energy core, eliminating concerns over spatial constraints. As the main gun charged, the cannon towers began to rotate slowly, targeting the Republic battleship located 30 light seconds away. Then, they fired. The discharge of energy, even from such a weapon, generated a formidable shockwave. A thick green beam of light pierced the atmosphere, creating a massive hole in the clouds and sending shockwaves rippling through the air. 5 such giant laser cannons participated in this exchange of fire with the Galactic Republic's 5 Jaeger-class battlecruisers. After several volleys, the battle paused as the Dirksen satellite rotated. However, this was merely the prelude. The initial wave of Republic fighter planes that had made a suicidal rush into the Dirksen satellite was just the beginning. The Galactic Republic's warship launched another assault with more than 300 fighter jets, heading straight for the Dirksen satellite. This time, the Republic's fighter formations avoided flying directly over the Steel City, where they would face intense anti-aircraft fire. Instead, they began their attack from the outskirts, launching missiles and proton torpedoes towards the city. The sky above the city was alight with explosions, flames, and lasers as countless blasts bombarded the deflector shield. Amidst the chaos, an urgent alarm blared. The sensor operator turned and announced large-scale hyperspace jump fluctuations detected, more than 200 ship signals. The white light of hyperspace jumps flickered violently, and with each flicker, a spaceship emerged from hyperspace, materializing as if from nowhere. However, the arriving formation wasn't composed of battleships. Aside from 6 Cheer-class assault landing ships, the rest were transport vessels. Minutes after the arrival of these spaceships, a massive battleship exited the hyperspace channel, positioning itself at the center of the formation. This triangular, wedge-shaped warship, boasting a towering bridge and an array of main guns, was the Galactic Republic's latest, the Archon-class Star Destroyer, measuring 1,600 meters in length. It entered the battlefield with an imposing presence, surrounded by the other spaceships. Emblazoned under the bridge of the battleship was its name, Tarkin's Will. On the bridge of one of the Cheer-class assault landing ships, Anakin Skywalker studied a holographic star map, his brow furrowed as he observed the Archon-class Star Destroyer's marker. Beside him stood his apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, and opposite them were the Dream Sisters, one clad in red, the other in blue, both silently observing the holographic star map. Suddenly, the screen beside them flickered, revealing the stern face of Wilhuff Tarkin. "I hope the ground forces are ready, Anakin," Tarkin stated flatly. Anakin's expression remained stoic. "Very well. As we have observed, the Separatists lack outer defenses on Onderon, and their only significant asset in space is an armed station," Tarkin began, his tone measured yet firm. "However, given that there is a production line for Behemoth-class battlecruisers on the Dirksen satellite, we must also entertain the possibility that they could be concealing a battleship there." "The Separatists wouldn't dare," Anakin Skywalker interjected. "They must realize that engaging us directly on Onderon would be a strategic blunder." Yet, when weighing the existence of Behemoth-level production capabilities against sheer folly, it's challenging to predict the course the Separatist commander might choose, Tarkin countered. "Their commander, the tactical droid known as General Kalani?" Anakin sought confirmation. "Exactly. My analysis suggests he possesses intelligence rivaling any of ours, making him a formidable adversary," Anakin responded with a note of respect for the enemy's capabilities. "In that case, we should mobilize the entire army and commence the landing on Onderon without delay," Tarkin declared, issuing the combat order decisively. Ahsoka Tano, momentarily taken aback, stood and questioned. "Landing on Onderon? Shouldn't our primary target be the Behemoth-class battlecruiser production line on the Dirksen satellite?" Tarkin shot her a cold look. "You have much to learn about the intricacies of warfare. Or perhaps you would be better off steering clear of it altogether. Yo, young one." "I am not a young one. I am a Jedi," Ahsoka retorted, her voice tinged with defiance, clearly not endeared to Tarkin. Anakin spoke calmly. "By securing Onderon, we can ally with the rebels and restore King Ramses Dendup to power, effectively severing the Dirksen satellite's support. Following the liberation of Onderon, the Dirksen satellite will be isolated." He offered Ahsoka a supportive pat on the shoulder, acknowledging her spirit and dedication. Tarkin addressed Anakin. "I will grant you no more than 3 days, Anakin Skywalker. I expect you to execute this plan efficiently. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website address omitted. Vol 2, Chapter 1380, Battle of Onderon, 2. On the flagship of the Republic fleet, the Tarkin's Will, Wilhuff Tarkin made a decisive gesture and commanded with authority, "All ships, set course for the Dirksen satellite. This vessel will lead the charge, preparing to initiate the first volley." "General, isn't the Separatist base on the Dirksen satellite currently on the opposite side due to its rotation?" an aide inquired, puzzled by the order. Wilhuff Tarkin scoffed. "Who said anything about targeting that base? Fire at will. I want every inch of the Dirksen satellite engulfed in flames and lava." "Understood," came the immediate response. The Republic's massive fleet surged forward. At the forefront, the Archon-class Star Destroyers' rows of XX-9 twin-mounted heavy-duty turbolaser turrets began to rotate. The barrels, though not overly long, aligned themselves towards the Dirksen satellite and unleashed a barrage of fire. The 60 double-mounted heavy-duty turbolaser turrets were divided into 3 groups, front, left, and right, with each group comprising 20 turrets. This firepower was 8 times more devastating than that of a Jaeger-class battlecruiser. The dense turbolaser beams rained down, exploding upon the unsuspecting primitive jungle on the far side of the Dirksen satellite. Explosions rocked the landscape as beams of light descended from the sky. Upon impact, they erupted into blindingly bright, hemispherical bursts of light, which then expanded, forming mushroom clouds hundreds of meters high. Each bombardment wreaked havoc on the terrain below. Mountains of rock were upheaved, shattered by the force of the impact, and then melted into lava by the intense heat, splattering in all directions. Countless streams of molten lava rained down, creating a scene reminiscent of the apocalypse. Even on the far side of the Dirksen satellite, away from the direct impact of the bombardment, the dense virgin jungle was transformed into a sea of flames by the explosion's shockwaves and the lava rain. Animals screamed and fled, only to perish one after another. Wilhuff Tarkin stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back, observing the satellite through the wide viewport. The once green planet now sported dozens of small, expanding red blooms, each one marking a devastating explosion that spread over 10 kilometers. As the bombardment continued, more areas were consumed by the explosion's aftermath and the ensuing flames. The Archon-class Star Destroyer lived up to its name, designed for the obliteration of a planet's surface. This destruction didn't mean disintegration in the literal sense, but rather rendering the entire surface into a glass-like state through intense heat and pressure. With its formidable firepower, it could achieve this in just 3 days. A single Star Destroyer could lay waste to a planet in that time frame, a testament to its terrifying capabilities. In the past, the Galactic Republic had resorted to orbital bombardments in wars, but even the Jaeger-class battlecruiser, equipped with XX-9 twin-mounted heavy-duty turbo-laser guns, had only 8 main guns and thus could only target specific tactical objectives. Hunter-class battlecruisers, unless deployed in groups, lacked the capacity for indiscriminate planetary destruction. However, an Archon-class Star Destroyer could accomplish this feat single-handedly. Elsewhere in the Republic fleet, Anakin Skywalker stood aboard the Cheer-class assault landing ship, his gaze fixed on the Dirksen satellite, his expression darkening. Tarkin, how could he resort to such measures? Ahsoka Tano exclaimed, her voice laced with urgency. He started an indiscriminate bombardment. Orbital bombing is explicitly forbidden by the Constitution of the Republic. Luna Jen dismissed the concern with a wave of her hand. He targeted no man's land, so even if you bring this up in Parliament, it won't make much of a difference. You are Jedi Knights too. You shouldn't just stand by. Ahsoka Tano exclaimed, her frustration evident. Then what do you propose we do? We can't command Tarkin, so should we destroy his ship? Luna Huan suggested, her eyes sparkling with excitement at the thought. It's challenging, but it might be possible with our Dream, Luna Meng added thoughtfully. Dream was the name they had given to their specially equipped ARC-170 heavy fighter, which was currently parked quietly in the hangar of their Cheerer-class assault landing ship. What are you thinking? Ahsoka Tano snapped, clearly having little patience for the sisters' antics. Let's consider Tarkin's actions as an attempt to draw out the enemy. I'll keep an eye on him. If he steps out of line again, I won't hesitate to act, Anakin Skywalker said, his voice deep and serious. He gave the Dream Sisters a meaningful look. The idea of destroying a Star Destroyer with a fighter jet seemed far-fetched, but knowing the sisters, Anakin couldn't dismiss the possibility outright. He wondered if such a feat was within his capabilities, though he quickly reminded himself that such thoughts were unbecoming of a Jedi. Despite her initial anger, Ahsoka Tano calmed down, choosing to trust her master's judgment. She sat back, still sulking slightly. Under the cover provided by the Cheerer-class assault landing ship, the transport fleet executed a feint at the outer edge of the Dirksen satellite before making a direct approach to the planet Onderon. Meanwhile, in Yinzi City, the capital of Onderon, 3 hover trucks made their way to a refuge outside the city. They descended slowly and opened their hatches, allowing the hundreds of civilians they carried to disembark and follow the administrators and garrison into the shelter. These shelters, located on the outskirts of the city, were designed to accommodate tens of thousands of people each, with over 300 shelters available. In theory, they could house more than 3 million people. However, in practice, cramming so many individuals into these spaces would significantly strain food supplies and living conditions. Okay, this group of people is safe now, Stella Guerrera said, turning to the silent figure beside her. Thank you for your assistance. Without it, the 3 destroyer robots we encountered would have caused us severe casualties. The figure, known only as Judgment, remained expressionless behind her mask. What you've done is merely a drop in the ocean. Yinzi City's population exceeds 5 million, nearly a quarter of the entire planet's population. How many can you truly save? As I've said before, we can't stop the larger events or the war itself, but we must do what we can, Stella replied, her resolve clear. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. Vol 2, Chapter 1381, Battle of Onderon 3. In the midst of the fierce battle against Andron, Judgment nodded, showing appreciation for Stella's perspective. She then posed another question. What if the Galactic Republic Army landed? What would your course of action be? Stella Guerrera, initially ready to respond without hesitation, paused mid-sentence. After a moment of contemplation, she slowly stated, I cannot stand by and watch planet Onderon be ruled by a separatist robot. I will aid the Republic in taking down General Kalani. Has General Kalani committed any wrongdoing? Judgment inquired, her tone shifting to one of curiosity. Stella raised her voice. He's plunging our planet into the depths of war, amassing troops in preparation for battle, and demanding our people to shed their last drop of blood. Judgment found this puzzling, but isn't preparing for war a necessary response to the threat of invasion? Stella explained, Planet Onderon was never meant to be an enemy of the Galactic Republic. It was Sanji Rush who orchestrated a coup, assassinating King Ramses Dundup and causing the planet to fall into the hands of the Separatists. Yet, aligning with the Separatists has quadrupled the population of Onderon, increased its industrial output by 11-fold, and tripled its per capita income. Aren't these positive outcomes? Judgment pressed on. Stella attempted to counter but found herself at a loss for words. Shaking her head, she simply stated, we must focus on saving those in front of us. I admire your perspective, but from another angle, it seems you're merely avoiding the larger issue, Judgment observed. Stella, looking towards the sky, chose not to respond. Perhaps you can escape fate, but fate itself cannot be outrun, Judgment added. You're not a Jedi Knight, Stella retorted, her curiosity piqued. Yet, you're stronger than any Jedi I've encountered. Who are you, and what brings you here? I'm here to rescue someone, Judgment revealed. Relieved, Stella responded. Then our goals align for now. Where is this person you seek to save? He's safe for the moment, so there's no rush to rescue him, Judgment replied calmly. Before that, I wish to observe more. What is it that you want to see? Stella inquired. Everything. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by the blaring of air defense sirens throughout the city. In an instant, the city was plunged into darkness as the Energy Control Center enforced a blackout. The Republic has arrived. Take cover, Stella Guerrera shouted, leading her rebel fighters to a hidden stronghold within the city. Along the way, she communicated with other factions, advising them to halt their operations until the situation clarified. Above them, the sky was filled with what appeared to be hundreds of meteors. However, these meteors abruptly changed course, hurtling towards the city at breakneck speed. The unmistakable sound of engines tearing through the air filled the night. It's a Republic fighter, Seth yelled from behind, prompting everyone to seek cover. The city's defenses sprang to life, with anti-aircraft guns and missiles shedding their camouflage and unleashing a barrage of fire into the sky. Stella and her group navigated the shadowed streets, while above them, a quadruple-mounted blaster cannon unleashed a relentless stream of red blaster beams into the night. On the ground, several destroyer robots found strategic positions, extending their frames before opening fire with their dual-mounted blaster machine guns. In the chaos, Judgment grabbed Stella's arm, ensuring they remained together amidst the unfolding battle. Stella Guerrera grasped the arm of her companion and, with a sense of urgency, led them to sprint towards the opposite direction. Seth and the rest of the rebel fighters followed closely behind. Guided by their strategic planning, they skillfully evaded the anti-aircraft fire and made their way towards their intended destination. They had barely covered a distance of 2,300 meters when a missile, descending swiftly from the sky, detonated upon impact with the quadruple anti-aircraft gun atop the previously targeted building. The explosion was massive, instantly flattening the top of the building and sending a shower of rubble and debris cascading down like a torrential rain. The city was engulfed in chaos, with explosions resonating from various quarters. Looking up, the sky was obscured by a chaotic dance of blast energy beams, laser beams, and the trailing flames of missiles. The fighter jets, moving at breakneck speeds, were invisible amidst the turmoil. The cacophony of explosions intensified, blurring the line between the sounds of jets attacking from above and those being shot down in a fiery demise. It was clear that Yinzi City was under a severe attack, a devastating onslaught. Upon reaching their secret stronghold, an unremarkable warehouse, Stella Guerrera and her group took refuge in the basement to shield themselves from the Republic's aerial bombardment. Seth, unable to contain his fury, exclaimed, "The Republic's audacity! They commenced bombing without hesitation." "There are civilians in those buildings," he added, his voice laced with anger. "The fighter jets are targeting military installations," Judgment attempted to rationalize, albeit with a hint of reluctance. "However, civilian casualties are an unfortunate inevitability." Stella's expression darkened, a mix of anger and despair evident on her face. Judgment met her gaze, his tone grave. "As I've said, fate is inescapable." Stella appeared confused by his words, but her thoughts were abruptly interrupted by the sound of her communicator. She glanced at the caller ID, her expression shifting dramatically before she pressed the button to answer the call. A holographic projection flickered to life, revealing a young man with a determined look, his handsome features marred slightly by disheveled hair. "Anakin Skywalker, you've finally arrived with the Republic fleet," Stella said, her voice deep and devoid of any warmth. "I promised I would return. My aim is to resolve the conflict on Onderon planet once and for all, to dismantle the separatist forces, and to restore the planet to its people," Anakin declared with conviction. "This time, we possess the strength to overcome any adversary. Moreover, I seek your assistance." "Is that why you bombed our city?" Stella asked, her tone icy. The conversation underscored the complexity of their situation, revealing the tension between the need for military action and the inevitable collateral damage such actions entail. Vol 2, Chapter 1382, The Choice. "We have only targeted military installations," Anakin Skywalker stated firmly, his voice deep and resolute. "I've given strict orders to our pilots. In Yinzi City, civilians occupy nearly every building," Stella Guerrera countered, her voice laden with concern. Anakin Skywalker paused, a momentary freeze overtaking him. I wasn't aware of that," he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "Now you are. You must halt the bombing at once. With your fleet here, we should be seeking a diplomatic solution," Stella implored, her voice rising with urgency. Anakin shook his head slightly, the weight of his decision evident. "That's complicated, Stella. After the failure of the recent rebel efforts, the Republic's assessment is that Onderon's situation can no longer be resolved peacefully. So, you've chosen to decimate the people of our planet? Is that the path of a Jedi Knight?" Stella's tone was heavy with sorrow. "I assure you, this is not the outcome I desire. But Onderon continues to supply the Separatists with behemoth-class battlecruisers. Who will answer for the lives of the soldiers and civilians lost because of this?" Anakin's gaze hardened, his resolve clear. "The Separatists have fractured the Republic, drawing billions into conflict. This is a matter of fundamental right and wrong. The Separatists must be defeated. I have no interest in your grand dilemmas. My only concern is for the innocent civilians." Stella's voice was charged with emotion. "In that case, assist us in swiftly toppling General Kalani's regime. Only then can Onderon truly find peace," Anakin asserted sharply. A dull explosion sounded from outside, ominously close to their hiding spot. Stella closed her eyes in anguish, at a loss for words. Stella, allowing a droid like General Kalani to govern Onderon, is misguided from any perspective. Consider why the former king, Ramses Dundup, refuses to reclaim his throne. Could it be because he wishes not to be a puppet of the Separatists? Anakin reasoned. "He's right, Stella. We need to act," a rebel soldier chimed in, breaking the heavy silence. "We've exerted every effort these past days, sacrificing over 30 of our brothers, only to save less than 5,000 people from the city. But if we can aid the Republic in defeating General Kalani, we could save 5 million at once." The sentiment resonated among the other rebels. Their recent actions, evacuating civilians from the city, had left them feeling dissatisfied, as it seemed misaligned with their broader objectives. If not for Stella Guerrera's respected leadership, dissent would have surfaced sooner. "But that doesn't justify starting a war, Jedi Knights," Seth interjected unexpectedly, pointing accusingly at Anakin's holographic projection. From the outset, your presence on Onderon was never with peaceful intentions. The rebel forces you back have brought nothing but death and destruction to our planet, and now, with your vast fleet and army, you continue to bring death and destruction. It's not your place to speak here. A rebel soldier stepped forward, shoving Seth aside. A few others looked ready to join in, but Seth calmly stepped back, and an invisible force gently repelled the aggressors. "You don't look like a warrior. You're more akin to a playboy," Anakin remarked disdainfully, never one to favor individuals like Seth. "Let me remind you, the root of all this turmoil is Onderon's alliance with the Separatists." "It's because you never gave us a choice," Seth retorted, his voice strained with frustration. "Choice, perhaps the most luxurious commodity in these times." Judgment interjected, placing a comforting hand on Seth's shoulder, signaling him to hold his peace. "And who might you be?" Anakin inquired, noticing the unusual presence. "A bystander, a traveler," Judgment replied, her tone neutral. Stella Guerrera, having listened to the exchange, finally spoke up. "I promise," she began, her voice resolute, "I will aid you in overthrowing General Kalani and dismantling the Separatist influence. But you must vow that." Her commitment marked a pivotal moment, a choice that could alter the fate of Onderon and its people. "You must save as many innocent civilians as possible, and after the war is over, return the regime to Umbara itself," Anakin Skywalker declared with a deep voice, his determination clear. "Yeah," came the enthusiastic response. "Stella, you are so brave," cheered the rebel soldiers behind her. "I promise you," Anakin continued, his tone solemn. Stella nodded, ready for her next instructions. "So what should I do?" "Send me your personnel distribution, and I will integrate you into our identification friend or foe system. Then, you need to conceal your movements as much as possible and provide us with the locations of the Separatist droids," Anakin explained. "Once we land, our primary objective will be to head straight for Unification Square and seize the palace as quickly as possible. General Kalani shouldn't be here. He must have gone to the Dirksen satellite," Stella Guerrera speculated. "I'm aware. This is merely the first step," Anakin confirmed with a nod. After the communication ended, Stella Guerrera remained silent for a moment before ordering her fellow rebel fighters to start coordinating with the Republic Army for intelligence and command systems. However, she herself went to the tribunal and confessed, "You were right, there's no escaping fate. Yet I'm uncertain if I've made the right choice. All I know is that allowing General Kalani, a droid, to rule over Onderon is absolutely unacceptable. When you weigh two options to decide which is more significant, you're only deceiving yourself. You're the leader, and your decisions shouldn't be judged in such a manner. What matters is whether you believe it's the right choice. That alone should guide your resolve. Any further justification will only undermine your determination," the judge advised. "Will you still support me?" Stella inquired, seeking reassurance. "I've never directly supported you. I've only done what I believe is right. Just as now, I won't assist you in gathering intelligence or collaborating with the Galactic Republic," the judge clarified. "Because you think it's wrong?" Stella asked, trying to understand. "It's because my goal is to save lives," the judge explained, a slight smile visible beneath the mask. "What does ending this conflict have to do with me?" The judge stood up, ready to leave. "The war has already begun, and there are more people in need of help." "Me too. I will not cease my efforts to save the civilians in the city," Stella Guerrera affirmed with conviction. Meanwhile, on Wilhuff Tarkin's flagship, the Tarkin's Will, a communication was established in front of Tarkin. The holographic projection displayed a man bearing a resemblance to Stella Guerrera, albeit a few years older, with a tattered cloak, a prominent scar on his face, and cold eyes. "I have a strategy that can swiftly dismantle the resistance in Yinzi City," the man proposed. "Heh! You've made a wise decision," Wilhuff Tarkin responded with pride, addressing the man as Saw Gerrera. Vol 2, Chapter 1383, The Battle Begins. The ground shook incessantly, its tremors felt even thousands of kilometers away. The formidable explosive force of Tarkin's Will bombarding the Dirksen satellite reverberated throughout the area. Yet, thanks to the sturdy foundation laid by the Mandalorians 4 millennia ago, the City of Steel, now under the management of Tyron Heavy Industries, remained as unyielding as Mount Tai. General Kalani, his hands clasped behind his back, stood before a window, gazing into the sky. As the Dirksen satellite rotated, the city faced the direction of the planet Onderon. The planet, though no larger than a wash basin in the sky, held an entire world within it, a thought that could be overwhelming. However, General Kalani, whose central processing unit had evolved to produce wisdom, was immune to such emotions. His mind was busy calculating the current situation. General Kalani, the Republic's transport fleet, has bypassed the Dirksen satellite and is heading directly towards Onderon. Their strategy seems to be to secure Onderon first, cutting off our reinforcements before launching a slow assault on us, reported Adjutant Liu Jichao, echoing their predictions. Our resources are limited. Patience is our current strategy. That warship orbiting us won't destroy the Dirksen satellite outright, so our losses have been minimal. The opposing commander, Wilhuf Tarkin, excels in instilling fear in his adversaries. This orbital bombardment is his tactic, General Kalani explained, his voice steady. So should we retaliate now? Liu Jichao inquired. There's no need for immediate action, General Kalani responded calmly. According to my understanding of anthropology, intelligent beings are most vulnerable when they believe they've achieved their objectives. If we were to deliver a setback at this juncture, it could provoke Tarkin into a reckless response. However, he is far from reaching his goal and is likely assessing the battlefield meticulously. He won't make a hasty move. I concur with your assessment, Liu Jichao said. For now, our focus shifts to Yinzi City. The Republic has entered Onderon's atmosphere. We await news from Yinzi City to determine our next steps, General Kalani stated. I believe General Akhenath Tandon and his forces will mount a strong defense. Yinzi City should withstand the siege for a considerable period, Liu Jichao commented. If that's the case, it's unfortunate. That would be bad news, General Kalani remarked, causing Liu Jichao to express confusion. Our plans didn't account for prolonged resistance. Anthropology, along with advice from Tang Xiao, the governor of Dawnstar, has led me to this conclusion. If Yinzi City falls within 3 days, that would be favorable, General Kalani explained. At that moment, another voice joined the conversation. If Yinzi City falls in 3 days, I'll have only 2 or 3 opportunities to make adjustments. I can't guarantee accuracy, said a muscular man clad in a black vest, his physique resembling iron. Your research is crucial for our counteroffensive, Dr. Zhang Jiarui. The battlefield's dynamics are ever-changing, and having 2 or 3 chances to recalibrate is valuable, General Kalani acknowledged. Meanwhile, the Galactic Republic's fleet neared Onderon. Numerous fighter jets had launched, penetrating the planet's atmosphere and launching aggressive strikes on all identified military targets. Onderon, with a sparse population of around 20 million, faced a critical moment in its history. In the capital of Yinzi City, the concentration of the population was notably higher than in the less than 50 cities scattered across the planet, most of which were located in the southern hemisphere. The Republic's war efforts were not limited to aerial bombardment of Yinzi City. They also targeted airports, spaceports, arsenals, and factories in other cities, effectively severing the rail connections between these cities and the capital. The Republic fleet deployed over 1,000 fighter jets for the operation. In response, Planet Onderon launched its defense with approximately 1,500 Vulture robot fighter jets. However, these were no match for the Republic's advanced V-wing fighters, resulting in the majority being swiftly shot down. Within less than 3 hours from the onset of hostilities, the Galactic Republic had decisively secured air supremacy. Onderon lacked both planetary and city shields, a decision influenced by its sparse population and the financial impracticality of such an investment, which would consume nearly a decade's worth of revenue. Moreover, as a covert base for separatist operations, installing planetary shields would have blatantly signaled to the Galactic Republic that Onderon harbored significant military assets. The situation on the Dirksen satellite differed. Being inaccessible to all but Tyron Heavy Industries personnel and robots, it could secretly maintain city-level shields without attracting attention. Despite Anakin Skywalker's strict orders to target only military installations, the Republic's bombing campaign inevitably resulted in civilian casualties. With air supremacy firmly established, 3 of the 6 Chira-class assault landing ships began their descent into the planet's atmosphere, strategically encircling Yinzi City from 3 directions. Under the protective fire of these ships, additional transport vessels landed troops on the planet's surface. The landing zones buzzed with activity. Hovering 2,000 meters above the ground, the imposing, triangular silhouette of the Chira-class ships cast a formidable shadow. Surrounding these vessels, hundreds of fighter jets darted about, engaging in various tasks. Some departed on combat missions, others returned for resupply, and a few engaged enemy aircraft in the vicinity. Transport ships touched down one after another, disgorging legions of the Galactic Republic's troops clad in gray uniforms. These soldiers quickly formed into companies, and after a brief organization, they marched into battle, expanding the beachhead and establishing defensive perimeters. Support crews also arrived, setting up temporary bases, field hospitals, and other essential facilities to sustain the ongoing military operations. Vol. 2, Chapter 1384, Battle of Onderon 4. The Galactic Republic had finally secured complete air supremacy over the planet Onderon. Now, only a handful of Vulture droid fighters, supported by ground-based air defenses, continued to resist, but the skies above Onderon were no longer under the planet's control. Hundreds of transport ships, assembled in orbit, reignited their engines to enter the planet's atmosphere, delivering a vast number of troops and supplies to the surface. The Galactic Republic's army had fully initiated its landing operation on Onderon. During this critical moment, a combat staff officer approached General Anakin Skywalker, saluted, and reported, "General Skywalker, we have established 15 landing sites around the city of Aziz, effectively encircling it from 3 directions. Please issue your orders for our next move." The landing sites are 30 kilometers from the urban area of Aziz. Given the large number of civilians in the city, avoid using long-range heavy firepower. All fire support should be provided by air power, Anakin Skywalker commanded with authority. Suspend all ATTE Walker landings. Deploy the TX-130 tanks as the assault force and lead a direct attack on the city. Understood. An army general nearby immediately relayed the order. Anakin continued, limit the first wave of landing troops to no more than 200,000. Prioritize ensuring sufficient supplies. We must attack the city as swiftly as possible, with reinforcements to follow. Understood. Keep the lines of command clear. Deploy a Venator-class Star Destroyer into the atmosphere in each of the 3 landing zones to act as an intermediate command center. This ship will remain in orbit, coordinating the overall situation as the high-level command center, Anakin added. Having participated in countless battles, Anakin was adept at combat command. The deployment was swiftly organized, and officers at all levels began to arrange their units according to the pre-established battle plan. As Jedi Knights, Anakin and his colleagues were responsible for issuing general combat directives. Their expertise lay not in detailed tactical or strategic command, but in their mastery of the Force and foresight. They could use the Force to identify potential dangers to the current battle plan without needing to manage specific commands. Despite the battle plan appearing sound, Anakin felt an unease that the Force did not seem to predict. This intuition was not derived from the Force, but from a more primal instinct. However, with the battle underway, there was no time to dwell on these misgivings. Turning to Ahsoka Tano, he said, "Ahsoka, head to the North Route Army and lead the assault. I'll take the West Route." "Okay," Ahsoka nodded, her confidence evident. "You've fought countless battles and led independently. You'll do great," Anakin encouraged. "I won't have any problems. I might even reach the city's core before you," Ahsoka replied with a smile. Anakin returned the smile and then addressed the Dream Sisters, hesitating briefly. Given their connection to the Force, he decided, "You two stay here and oversee the operation. Our top priority is ensuring the safety of our transport ships." Not all transport ships were involved in the landing operation, with the fleet still assembled in orbit. Currently, Wilhuff Tarkin, with his flagship and 5 Venator-class Star Destroyers, was conducting orbital bombardments on the Dirksen satellite, leaving only 6 Venator-class ships to secure the operation. The vast transport fleet loomed in space, with the first-class assault landing ships still boasting combat capabilities. Despite this, 3 Cheer-class ships were designated to descend into the planet's atmosphere to support ground operations, leaving only the remaining 3 to safeguard the transport vessels. The protection of these ships was paramount. Luna Meng acknowledged the importance of their mission with a polite nod. "We will protect the transport fleet," she affirmed. Anakin Skywalker, with a decisive nod, rallied. "Go!" He, along with a few guards and Ahsoka Tano, made their way to the hangar platform and boarded a LII assault transport ship, setting a course for the planet's surface. The bridge, now devoid of their presence, felt eerily quiet and empty. Luna Meng and Luna Huan exchanged glances, a hint of intrigue sparking in their eyes. "Sister, should we find a way to abandon these transport ships?" Luna Huan inquired, her gaze fixed on the orderly array of ships visible through the porthole. Luna Meng shook her head, her voice steady. "I can't justify such an action. It would compromise our standing within the Republic." Luna Huan approached the window, her breath fogging up the glass, designed to withstand the fiercest turbolaser fire. She traced a cross in the direction of the transport fleet. "The governor believes that planet Onderon's fall is inevitable. Why then does he seem to disregard it? It's unlike him to abandon a planet without any form of intervention." "You're right," Luna Meng mused. "His usual approach isn't to give up so easily. For now, we wait." Luna Huan's expression soured. "Waiting is what I despise the most." A smile tugged at Luna Meng's lips. "Patience may reveal more than we know. For instance, don't you find it peculiar how unaffected the civilians on Onderon seem, despite the impending Republic invasion?" Luna Huan shook her head, her interest waning. "I'm not one for political intricacies. I just want to know when we can stir up some trouble, be it within the Republic or the Separatists." "Soon," Luna Meng replied, her tone even. Meanwhile, in Izzy City's Temple of Unity, the heart of Onderon's power, a sense of urgency permeated the air. "General, the Republic's forces have commenced their landing," an officer reported to General Akhenaten Tandon, the planet's military leader under the current regime. Following the execution of Regent Sanji Rush by General Kalani, who then declared martial law, the planet fell under the direct control of Kalani, with Akhenaten Tandon serving as his deputy. However, with Kalani's departure to oversee the battle at the Dirksen satellite, Tandon was left in charge of Onderon. His command of the Royal Guard, the planet's elite military force, made him a natural successor to manage the planet's affairs, despite the immense pressure that came with the responsibility. Now, with the Republic's forces making their descent, Tandon faced the daunting task of leading the defense. "Do we have any intel on the Republic's army numbers and their deployment?" he inquired. The officer provided a detailed account. "With 3 Cheer-class assault landing ships, the Republic has established landing zones to the north, west, and south of our city. The closest is merely 30 kilometers away. Based on the activity of their transport ships, they've deployed between 100,000 to 200,000 troops, and that number is growing by the minute." The Republic Army refrained from employing heavy artillery for long-range attacks, opting instead for targeted bombings with fighter jets. "They've finally learned to spare a glimmer of hope for the civilians," General Tan Ding remarked. However, he was deeply concerned about the defense of the city. "Facing the Republic's offensive, our forces in the city amount to only 50,000 combat robots and 300,000 soldiers. Among these, 200,000 were hastily recruited in the past 2 months, and their training is woefully inadequate. I fear our resistance may not hold for long," an officer reported. General Tan Ding's resolve was unshakable. "We must hold our ground to the very end. We must demonstrate to the Republic that the people of Onderon are not easily subdued or manipulated. Remember the life we endured under the Republic's rule. Although I did not support Sanji Rush's coup against King Dundup, it doesn't mean I can accept the Galactic Republic's dominion. I'm convinced the majority of our people share this sentiment." He locked eyes with the officer, imparting a piece of lesser-known history. "What you may not realize is that Onderon was a forward-based door in the Mandalore Crusades 4,000 years ago, making it a target for the Republic's blacklist. Even after we joined the Galactic Republic, we were subjected to exploitation and restrictions. Under their rule, we were condemned to perpetual poverty. Sanji Rush may have been a fool, but his coup was possible because the people had long lost faith in the Republic. I understand, General. We will mount the fiercest resistance as planned, the officer responded, saluting sharply. Establish defensive lines along all major thoroughfares in the city and steer clear of civilian areas as much as possible. Our aim is to delay them. General Kalani has a counterattack strategy, General Tanding declared, his voice thunderous with determination. The Republic seeks to conquer us, but they will not succeed. Amidst this declaration, the city of Izzy was rocked by explosions as two TX-130 Sabre-class tanks burst through its defenses. Their heavy-duty laser cannons targeted an armored vehicle, igniting a massive explosion. Republic soldiers, organized into hundreds of combat units, followed closely. Some seized control of nearby buildings for strategic advantage, while others pressed forward along the streets. Their tactics, though not as refined as those of clone soldiers, demonstrated competent military discipline. General Tanding's forces had fortified key intersections within Izzy, hoping to stave off the Republic's advance. Above, Republic fighter jets circled ominously, ready to dive at any sign of a target with bombs and blaster cannons. The city's anti-aircraft defenses worked tirelessly, lighting up the sky with relentless fire. In the midst of the chaos, Anakin Skywalker advanced, his lightsaber deflecting a barrage of blaster fire. The Onderon army's makeshift barricades of laser fences, sandbags, and vehicle wreckage proved no obstacle. Anakin's swift movements rendered the enemy's blaster fire ineffective, his lightsaber sending their shots back with lethal precision. With a powerful leap, he crossed the defensive line, his presence on the battlefield a beacon of the Republic's relentless push for victory. The 5-meter-high bunker was no match for the force of the impact, as it fell heavily onto the Onderon army's firepower point behind it. The explosion sent a powerful shockwave in all directions, knocking hundreds of soldiers off their feet. The force was so intense that most of the soldiers lost consciousness before they even hit the ground. Anakin Skywalker raised his hand, and the blaster guns in the soldiers' hands were yanked out of their grasp, clattering to the ground beside them. He surveyed the Onderon soldiers who, though not unconscious, were clearly stunned. Without uttering a word, his cold gaze was enough to make them understand their situation. Recognizing their defeat, the soldiers lay on the ground and surrendered, raising their hands in the air. With swift movements of his lightsaber, Anakin sliced through the piled-up bunkers, clearing the way. Republic soldiers quickly moved in, securing the surrendered Onderon soldiers and pressing forward. Troops are setting up anti-tank guns on the west side of Fifth Avenue. There are about 200 of them. Stella Guerrera's voice came through the communicator, providing valuable intelligence. Advance to Fifth Avenue. The rest of you, continue the attack in this direction, and send some tanks here. Anakin commanded, making strategic decisions on the fly. Behind him, a group of soldiers, larger and more formidable than the others, acknowledged his orders. They were the 2nd Company of Riptide, a new commando unit handpicked by Anakin Skywalker himself. Named in honor of Rex's clone army, the 501st Legion's Riptide Company, they advanced towards Fifth Avenue with determination. Be cautious. There are civilians gathered on Fifth Avenue. We need to evacuate them to avoid heavy casualties, Stella warned through the communicator. I'll be careful. Anakin responded tersely before ending the communication. A gunshot rang out from a distant building, followed by a soldier's report. General Skywalker, someone in that building fired at us and threw Molotov cocktails. 2 of our men were burned. Send a combat team to handle it, but make sure to avoid civilian casualties, Anakin ordered. General, with all due respect, if we have to tiptoe around civilians at every step, we'll never be able to defeat the Separatists, a member of the Torrent 2 Company protested. Anakin's expression darkened with displeasure. I've made myself clear. Do not harm civilians, he reiterated firmly, underscoring the importance of preserving innocent lives even amidst the chaos of war.